Hello and welcome to Dial H for Heroclix. This is episode 4. I'm your host, Hunter Smith. With me this week is Andrew Alderson.
Yeah.
Austin Smith.
What's up, guys?
And a special guest, Philip J. Fry. No, Philip Young.
Hello.
A close friend and a judge at Game Preserve in Greenwood. Phil, I've got a few questions that I've formulated that I'm going to ask from here on out, starting with you, to every guest we come in. First off, what is your gaming background as far as board games and card games?
Sure. Well, primarily for about 3 years, I was a big-time Magic player. I played in a lot of the F&M Star City games, Grand Prix, anything I can really get my hands on. Transitioned after I started working at the Game Preserve to start playing board games and other miniature games, and that's where I found Heroclix, and I really haven't turned back since then. It's pretty much my new drug.
There is no turning back.
What are a couple of your favorite comic book characters in general? I know you love Superman.
I do love Superman. He's definitely up there, and I guess that would probably explain why I like Invincible, because he's kind of a more modern or alternate version of Superman in a lot of ways. Let's see. Also, love and Uncanny Avengers. I hadn't liked Marvel for a long time, but the Now series has really impressed me. But primarily before then, it's almost all been Superman and Justice League kind of stuff.
What would you say is your favorite Heroclix set that's ever came out?
Ooh. Oh, geez.
That's a hard one.
That is a good one. From what I've seen, and Marvel's Giant Size X-Men.
I was going to think Superman. That's what I was thinking.
And the reason I didn't like that set as much as I felt like they really just focused on such a small storyline for the bulk of it, and didn't seem really like a focus set.
Yeah, it missed all that.
It didn't have a lot of sub-themes in it either. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the ones they had were so small, like, what was there, 4 figs from Flashpoint, maybe 6?
Yeah.
And even then, like, when you crack those boosters, they have so many weird, different figures in them that you don't recognize even as, like, someone who reads Superman.
My last question might take a little longer to answer. I know for us it did. Top 3 favorite Heroclix.
That's definitely a tough one. I'd say... Well, Superboy Prime is probably my most recent favorite one. I can't count how many figures I've one-shotted with that guy. Let's see. Not to sound cliche, but Brother Voodoo's been quite amazing as well.
Oh, yeah.
The sculpt's great. The mechanics of them, I think, are well thought out. Very flavorful for a Prime. Usually the Primes, I think, like either hit or they completely miss. And I guess the Marvel Giant Size X-Men's Cable, the super rare.
Yeah.
I love that fig. I love the time traveling stories with Kang, and Cable has the past and future thing, so I like playing around with those types of team builds.
We played a couple things this week. Wednesday we had Clix Justice at Game Preserve. Phil and I ran that, and we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I'll go a little more in depth with it. Basically, it's a game scenario that Glass Cabinet Films on YouTube came up with a few months back, but he does it on a small scale, and it's kind of like a scenario that's based on fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom or Injustice. And you take pre-built teams that each represent a comic book character, and then each player picks one and then faces off on a smaller sized map with no first round immunity. Having a brain fart. So basically I took his idea and I blew it up on a bigger scale. I made my own maps, made them a tiny bit bigger. They're the size of Street Fighter maps. I think it's 16 by 6 squares. And I used mostly Street Fighter maps with a few that I made myself from, like extra Fear Itself maps and No Man's Land maps. And I have 30, 15 on each side, 30 pre-built teams, all around 300 points. And feel like they're pretty balanced. We had a couple teams that ended up being better than what they should be, but honestly, they were ones that I had already kind of suspected would be anyways. And so I kind of had in my head, if these turn out to be good, I'm going to nerf them. But I want to playtest them before I nerf them.
I don't know what you're talking about. I thought Villains for Hire was completely fair.
Villains for Hire kind of slipped through the cracks because I originally had I had a society team built for that, and then right when I was putting this all together and playtesting everything was when Teen Titans came out, and I saw that Deathstroke and I was like, he's pretty good.
Yeah,
I want to play around him, so I put that Villains for Hire team, and that's the only team that didn't get playtested, and you saw how that turned out. So
that Cheshire,
the guy who chose the team first round, literally, he walked away from the board, and I think in shock of how one-sided his match was. Honestly,
for there was like one other team that it wasn't broken. It had close matches, but it was doing really well too, and that was the X-Force team with Web of Spider-Man, Deadpool, Archangel, and Psylocke. And I toned it down a little bit, but I didn't change it a whole lot. Anyways, basically, I had all the players roll 2d6. We lined them up from highest to lowest, and 2 people at a time came up, picked their teams. I give them their teams, and they go to play their match. And so again, there's 2 objects on each side of the map. They're directly in the middle, and they start in the same place every time. And you roll to see who goes first. Winner goes first. Second chooses map side. And you only have 25 minutes to play one round. Again, there's no first round immunity, so these games are over pretty quick. It seems like, you think 300 points, 25 minutes, this isn't going to be over. But actually, at least like 85% of the rounds were over before time was called.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes fast enough. The pacing is pretty on point. And then when you go, after somebody wins, they're 1-0. And then the loser of the first round gets to go gets to go first for the second round. And then if you end up going 1-1, then you'll roll 2d6 again. Winner gets to go first for the last round, and then best 2 out of 3. And then once everybody's done, they return their figs, and I make them pick a different team so everybody has a good chance of playing against and playing with teams that they haven't got to play yet.
There were a few teams I really wanted to try that I can't wait till we play next time, because I saw them, like the JLA team looked really cool.
The Amazon team.
Yeah, nobody picked my Amazon team, and that's my sleeper team. I guess it won't be now that I just said that, but that's kind of the sleeper team on there.
No hot dog cart.
Nobody picked Superman, Fantastic Four, Wonder Woman in the Amazons, or Batman in the Batman family. But Phil brought up a good point. People are probably burned out on Batman family right now with all the sets that came out. But that's an excellent team as well. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and we can do it a couple times a year and do it at the other venues a couple times a year, and people can get to play all these teams, and I can keep tweaking the build. There was a couple teams that I ended up buffing, a couple I ended up nerfing. But everybody except maybe 1 or 2 people said they had a blast with it. I think it turned out pretty well.
We got very, very good feedback from our group, and a lot of people, I'd say a dozen people, have already expressed great interest in playing it again. We had 18 players too, which was great.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about running it with that many people because it's hard to keep everybody on time. Like when we played it at the dugout, we only had 6 people, and people kept on playing their matches without waiting for everybody, but it was fine. We actually got an extra round in. We actually got an extra round in that we wouldn't have either, but whenever we had 20-ish people, it was a little harder to run, but it still worked out pretty smooth. We just got back from the dugout, and we played another Gen Con prep event. This was the 400 points video game teams. I didn't actually get to play. Well, I play tested my team one time. I played the Locust team from the Gears of War, just one of each is a perfect 400 points, and it was an excellent team. But I'll let you guys, Drew and Austin, talk about your teams.
I had I decided to go with a 400-point Bioshock team. I knew with video game teams, typically the values are a little more fluctuated. Like, usually have really high defenses and really low attacks on average on those sets. And the Bioshock pieces were looking really solid overall. It looked like they could hold their own against some Marvel ones. And I really wanted to mess with that Founders ATA, or that Founders TA. So I built a Founder minion team based around the Commandants, the Founder soldiers, and Slate. Which Slate is a piece that I don't think people have realized yet how ridiculous and bonkers he can be.
We talked about him that was our first week, I think.
Yeah.
And we were spoiling pieces, and I hadn't looked at him yet. And then I was like, wait, this guy's ridiculous.
Oh man, he is
like,
just as...
Look at this power.
One of the guys that showed up had brought a Pacific Rim Clix, which I thought were going to wreck me. And like they were power pieces against like some of these, and I dropped. Hey, he didn't have anything else to play on the side, video game wise. So
That's what he says.
but so he hit the board with us like, this game is going to be a shutout. I have low damage values. I put 3 enhancements around that slate, dropped a barrier out to where it would only hit one of them, pulse waved for 5, and just kept blasting them. It was great.
Which also lets you ignore the mystics
yeah.
that the monsters have in Pacific Rim.
Oh, it was ridiculous. I mean, like, I would recommend that piece to anyone in a heartbeat. But the issue I had with the team was it's a traditional problem with a heavy range team. The Commandants let me ignore hindering, so I didn't have a problem with any stealth. The big issue I ran into is if someone ran up and tied me up, I have close to no penetrating, I had no outwit on the team. It screwed me in melee compared to most of my other teams.
Another good thing about this slate was
He drops.
I play tested it with my Locust team against the team that Austin's talking about, and I was like, I'm going for that slate. So I set it up where I totally screwed over his pulse wave, and I was like, I've got him now. And I popped him for like 3 or 4,
Drops
and
on
he
the
gets like
charge
charged blades,
blades.
10 attack,
Yeah.
and so he's
11.
and still that has that traded poison. So he's a solid, very solid
Oh,
best figure out of that
The other
set.
thing that's great about that Blades poison is that if another figure of yours dies, you can swap places. And so I had some fun with that today too. So like they'd kill one of my weak little founder soldiers, boom, slates right up in your face with an exploit on his top dial, punching you.
That's great.
What did you play, Drew?
I played some generic Halo team because I didn't really feel like building anything for it. It was 2 Jackals, the elite with the sword, the cloaked elite with the sword, and the elite with the carbine from Halo. I went 2-1. It was okay.
Yeah, you did good.
Yeah, it did better than I thought. First game, I beat Austin because he made a really bad move.
I
And-
picked a horrible map. for my
Okay,
team.
so one of the Bioshock maps is there's a bridge, and Austin's like, well, I guess I'll just go set all my guys on this bridge because they all have enhancement. I'm going to hit them for 5. Well, the problem is he can't see over them.
Yeah, it was a 2-wide
So
bridge.
I just ran in my melee guys and just slaughtered him.
It was bad. It was horrible.
It's pretty bad. Second game, I just went up against Street Fighter Clix. It was kind of weird. I started to falter towards the end, but I won that too. And third game was against Scott's Gears of War team, which stupid.
He was playing the whole. Was he playing one of each of the other of the?
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now, but
COG.
the COG Soldiers team
Yeah.
also is one piece of each equals a perfect 400-point team.
Yeah.
So they're pretty solid too. I liked the Locust. I was debating either the COGs or the Locust, but I like the Locust. Their TA is really good, and we're going to talk about that on Just the Tip.
man.
We'll get into that more a little bit. That's what we played this week. We're going to get into some news. Phil didn't get to play anything this week because he had to work, and also on Wednesday he and I were running everything Wednesday, so we didn't get to actually play.
Yeah.
What teams did you play Wednesday when you played?
MODOK.
Oh yeah,
MODOK was a fun one. With his heavy range setup, you move him forward. You put the 2 aim agents with him. And I picked the map I ended up on actually was I started on elevated on a building, and so do they. So I just moved MODOK up with those Hydra agents or those aim agents with Hydra, and you look down and you start blasting people.
Nice.
And
you ended
then
up getting outranged by 1 though. Remember?
Yeah, that was what wrecked me. Magneto.
Yeah.
It was the promotable Magneto in the really stylish disco suit, the giant M on the front.
That's the House of M Magneto
Yeah.
suit.
He's awesome.
He tore me up.
Mark Silvestri did that artwork for that.
Thanks, Phil.
The MODOK.
Just saying.
The MODOK team is MODOK, an AIM agent, an AIM renegade, and
and,
Batrox, who's an awesome piece.
Batrox.
I love Batrox so much.
And then the second team I played was the Villains for Hire, which was
Yeah, it was a little good. I want to note Austin picked the Villains for Hire after we all talked about how stupid it was.
I wanted to see how broken it was.
Yeah,
Wow, that doesn't sound
I'm
like
sure.
Austin at all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right,
I plead the fifth.
let's get into some news. If you want to follow along with us on our news, you can go to hcrealms.com and heroclix.com. That's where most of these official spoilers are coming from. I'm going to link most of these in the descriptions for the podcast and in the notes. The first thing they spoiled this week was a big one. It was the Excalibur team base, and pretty much sounds like general consensus is that everybody really likes it. Let's bring up the picture here of its special abilities. So we're not going to go through every click it has because it's a team base that has 1 million. But we'll go over its special abilities. For the most part, it has a lot of running shot and pulse wave. It has a lot of range stuff.
Yeah.
But it does have some hits of charge here and there. They have a special movement ability called Cross Time Caper. They have phasing, and when another character uses prob, the dice are re-rolled twice, and then you choose the result from among those two rolls. So that's going to help you on your turn and their turn. That's a really awesome ability.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I kind of overlooked it at first.
What's their charge called?
They're charged, chased by Nazi dinosaurs from another dimension.
I'm just saying that's the whole reason I'd play this thing. I don't need anything else.
So that prop control is actually really cool. So basically, if even on your turn, it's going to help you a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing about it that's kind of good, though, is like normally if you have 2 probs lined up and you prob once, okay, you hit a better attack. What if you would have probbed that second time and hit a crit? You would have never known. So that allows you to just like double up instantly, check what both were going to be, and pick one.
Yeah, it's basically giving you a double prob.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Their special attack ability is once per turn when they make an attack roll. If the result is lower than the click number of a target of the attack, modify that target's combat values by -1 until your next turn.
Whoa,
Now,
how many bolts do they have?
they have 2 bolts.
Okay, so you could target 2 different people. Oh, modify that targets. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, this right. But I don't really like this on a normal Clix figure. It's not going to be that good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was thinking about against other team
Against
bases.
other team bases are rad.
It's going to be good because and against Colossals
Well, here's my question.
because it's going to happen more often.
Technically, if you pick a different starting line, the count starts at whatever it says, right? So if you start them lower down, they start at 13. So if you target someone that starts as a lower down value already.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I would have to look that up. I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
I was just wondering, because I was wondering about that when I first saw it, because, I mean, if that's the case, someone's playing a low-end Justice League in a high-point game or something,
Yeah,
that's a great
that's
ability.
true too.
Especially when someone can make 6 attacks.
Their damage ability, they can use Perplex, but only to target themselves. When you do and choose a combat value, roll a d6. On a result of 1, you modify the value -1. On a result of 4 to 6, you modify the value +2 instead. I think that's worth it.
Yeah.
15% versus 50.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth. Even if you get a 2 or 3, you're still getting the normal Perplex. So what did you lose? So you really only have, like Austin said, like a 16-17% chance of failing. Their special character abilities, Captain Britain's is really good. If an action token would be given to Excalibur, instead no action tokens are given. When Excalibur takes damage after actions resolve, roll a d6, turn the asset dial that many times to the left. Mega gives them shape change, Nightcrawler gives them combat reflexes, Phoenix lets their powers and abilities not be countered and gives them +1 damage, and Shadowcat gives them super senses. I like that a lot. It's 3 out of their 5 makes them harder to hit.
Yeah. And what I was going to bring up about this asset dial is what I said about the previous ones. I really like asset dials that have fun abilities and aren't just can use this, can use that. Because it really brings out like the flavor of the team. They did a really good job with this one.
Their special is the sword is drawn. They can use blades with close and range combat actions.
Oh yeah, throwing a sword is just a great idea.
And they don't hit super hard to begin with. If you look at their dial, it's all 4s and 3s except for, like 1 click of 5
Yeah.
there. So, I mean, that blades can be useful in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Nothing else special on them. The sculpt looks great. We looked at the sculpt last week. Now, they also spoiled the actual characters. Oh, I guess while we're talking about the Excalibur team base, we should real quick talk about Lockheed, which I was actually more excited about than the team base.
He's pretty awesome.
Lockheed comes with the team base, and he is a switch Clix. He's set up the same way as the Flock of Bats, just a 1-click long dial. If you play him on the team base, he can't be used for solo adventure, but he does give the team the ability to use energy explosion with 1 bolt. So, I mean, really, I don't think he's to be used on the team base, honestly. I think he's a 16-point taxi That in and of itself is ridiculous. Not to mention he has the mystical keyword.
And his damage ability is good if you play him right.
And then if you play him with Kitty or Shadowcat, whenever she is chosen as a target of an attack, roll a d6. On a 5 to 6, you give her +2 defense until your next turn. That's a free action. He also has a 19 defense from range. And mystical teams need taxis.
Oh, yeah. But I would
They
just
need movement, period. They don't have a lot of willpower, and they don't have a lot of movement attack.
I was going to bring up that damage power is really good because usually Kitty Prides and Shadowcat figures are
Already.
taxi. They're usually either kind of a form of taxi or they're tie-up pieces. So
Yeah, I was going to say, they're usually hard to hit to begin with.
So, like, you bring him in there with her, and then either they have to focus on him and waste an attack on him just to be able to try to hit her.
And he's got an energy shield.
They also spoiled the actual figures from off of the base, and we'll go through them real quick. Shadowcat, who is a common in the set, so you'll be able to pull her in sealed a lot. She has no special abilities. She does ignore elevated, hindering, and blocking on movement. She is a transporter, and she's basically like Austin just said, a taxi who's hard to hit. She has a lot of super senses and some shape
She's
change.
got a good attack bottom dial, though.
Yeah, she has precision strike with a 10 and a 9 on her last couple
Exploit for the
clicks.
whole top.
She's moving attack too.
Yeah, so she's got ways to get through dampeners. Phoenix is the one I'm more excited about because I wanted a Rachel Gray, period.
But she's not in a trench coat.
She is a super rare. No, she's not in a trench coat, but I'll settle for this. She's 154 points, 8 clicks long, no endom. But she has 8 range with running shot and penetrating. I like that.
That's pretty good.
She also has a damage power that is outwit and shape change. She can use outwit normally, or she may choose a power and counter that power on all opposing characters within range and line of fire.
You know what I call that? An outwit. Because then your whole opposing team just loses all their outwit.
Yeah, take down the invul off of 3 pieces.
Yeah,
Or if you're playing Aaron's all Thor team, there goes all his turf.
Super strength. There's so many ways. Like a team that has like a consistent choice of abilities or something, you could really screw them over.
I was thinking choose Endom and take away all their Endom, but you can't.
Powers.
Yeah, you can't do that because it
I
says
thought
power.
that too.
So the reason I like her a lot, and I think she's really worth their points, is the first 3 clicks you keep her ranged at max range with the 8. She has running shot and penetrating, but then after she gets hit for a few, she goes on to charge, poison, and prob with super senses. So, and then her last couple clicks, she has precision strike with a 10. So she's really, really good attacker, period. Primary or secondary in big games. She also has good keywords, too, with the X-Men keyword.
Star
And
Jammers.
Excalibur and
Oh yeah,
Future.
her keywords are great.
Yeah.
So she's a super rare. And then the 3 figures that are going to be on the actual base are Captain Britain, who I'll let you guys talk about him. I'm not really feeling him. I don't think he's all that great.
I like him.
Not, but
I mean, like he's got a good choice of keywords right at the bat. I mean, anyone with Avengers, of course, is good. He's a little expensive for what he does, but his trade alone, if he's on his half of the map, basically, he gets +1 to all his combat values, which brings him up to that 110. Like I don't like that ability in like because it gives my opponent a choice, kind of. And you never want to give your opponent options, you want to give yourself options.
Yeah.
You're restricting yourself with that. But if you could find a way to play around that and keep everything on your side of the map, I don't know, like a stealth team throwing stuff down range with him or something. But, like, per usual, he'd be a great belt target. I mean, like, he's 8 clicks long for 110. No endom. But he's got solid values. He's got a good +1 ability. And his damage ability isn't bad either. He can use leadership. When he does and removes an action token from a friendly character that shares a keyword, that character can use willpower.
See, that's the reason I didn't like him was because of the leadership ability. Because it's when he does and removes an action token, so he doesn't have to just hit it. He also has to take an action token off of him. If you took an action token off of him, there's a 50-50 chance they don't even need the willpower in the first place.
What I was going to bring up though is the only thing I could see that really being used for is with a character that takes double power actions.
Yeah,
like there's got to be something to team up with it somewhere in the set. I don't think they would make an ability that's that locked in unless there was a reason. And the other thing is it just this turn? Oh, it is only this turn. If it was until your next turn, it would stop end caps from taking extra damage. But
he does get hypersonic for a couple clicks there.
Yeah.
But his attack values drop down to 8s on the last 2 clicks.
He's got the Simon effect.
He has the 3 clicks of close combat expert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's not like a spectacular piece. He's an interesting one. Like he's one that I'll come back to. Eventually.
He's not bad.
Well, he's a must if you're gonna have Excalibur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that
Even
team-
just for his
team-based
team ability
alone.
alone.
Not only that, but I mean, he was kind of one of the core characters of that.
He's
whole
Excalibur
series.
pretty
Yeah, he's
much.
Excalibur.
Megan, I want to like, but I don't quite. With my luck rolling, I would not get much out of her. She's a Mystic. She's 90 points. No Endom with 6 clicks. Everything for her is all about her trait. She can use Shape Change. When she doesn't succeeds, choose one to last until the end of your next turn. So if you think about this, if you hit it twice in a row, you're going to get 2 of these at the same at the same time. The choices are she can use Imperv and Super Senses, she can use Battle Fury and Blades, or she can use Penetrating, or can use Psychic Blast as if she had a range of 5.
However, if you hit Battle Fury and the pin, it's kind of canceling each other out. But
Right.
I like her. I mean, like she's not like amazing, but she's a 90-point Mystic, which is always great with.
She's the Mystic.
Flurry top dial. She can fly.
I'm going to bring up the thing I usually say. I don't like random pieces when I'm trying to be competitive.
Exactly.
You don't want to take those kind of options away from yourself.
That's what I'm saying. If you hit your roll like 20% of the time,
Yeah.
she's not worth 90 points. She's not worth 70 points. If you're hitting it half the time, I feel like she's definitely worth their points.
Well, her opening movement's only a 7, which kind of limits her ability as a taxi, as a flyer.
She's a fun book piece.
Yeah,
because-
she's a flavorful piece.
Yep.
Sculpt looks good too.
No, I
Oh,
mean
yeah.
she's a fun piece that you could use with the book.
Oh, with the Book of the Skull. Yeah,
Oh.
that is true.
I thought you meant from the comics.
No.
So here's the one everybody wants to talk about:
Yeah.
Nightcrawler.
Oh boy, here we go.
Drew, we were just talking about Nightcrawler earlier. What do you think about him?
I think that he's not as good as Web Spider-Man Nightcrawler, but you shouldn't be bringing those expectations onto the table
That
in the
is
first place.
absolutely right. Don't get mad just because he's not
Get-
top 10 hero.
I'm gonna cuss. Get that shit out of here.
He can carry and can carry 2 characters if they share a keyword with him. But the problem is when he goes through or when he moves, he may ignore a wall or square of blocking terrain. If he does, after actions resolve, deal him unavoidable damage equal to the number of characters he carried this turn. So if you're not carrying anybody, you're not going to take any damage.
But he gets blades.
That's
on his
only if
next
he
click.
ignores a square of walls.
That's only if he ignores it. It's not just for carrying them in the first place. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's that big of a negative. He has 10 hypersonic with a 10 attack and 3 damage. That's not bad. He's still going to be able to get in and out. You know, he ignores hindering and elevated. He's still going to be able to get in and out, you know, like the old Nightcrawler. It's just he doesn't have the defense that the old Nightcrawler had.
I do want to bring up some really cool thing about this figure. His Click 3 is probably my favorite. It's a 10-blade sidestep exploit. You could use his teleport through a wall on purpose to drop him onto that click when you land. And then just blast somebody with a really good Blades exploit.
His defense ability is Energy Shield and Super Senses, which does give him a 19 with Super Senses. I feel like he should have Shape Change on a click or 2, and then he'd be perfect.
I kind of wish he had
Yeah.
X-Men team ability, but...
That's true. He doesn't have any team abilities at all, which does suck.
It's
I wish
supposed
that
to-
shape change as a trait.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be Excalibur Nightcrawler, so I guess that's why. But
yeah. He does have sword and he does have some blades, which is good. A lot of
and
people
some
wanted that.
hypersonic and exploit. He's got exploit like his whole dial, starting on Click 3 and all.
Yeah, actually, he really does.
So he's a good piece, but he's not as good as everybody was expecting. His sculpt makes up for any point lack that he could have because
Yeah.
his sculpt looks awesome, and he's also going to be supposedly going to be an LE version of him with the Uncanny X-Force
How
version.
is this
the
piece-
AOA? It's the AOA version. Is the OP?
Yeah. What are you going to say, Drew?
How is this piece not playable? Is my opinion.
He's
I mean,
playable. I think people were just wanting another.
They were wanting
Well,
a broken
Web of
Then
Spider-Man.
go play Web of Spider-Man Nightcrawler.
You know, traditionally, I think most of the team-based figs that came with team bases didn't have a TA or a built-in team.
Yeah, that's
ability,
true.
right? Megan looks to be the exception.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
because
just
I
thinking
think
off the top of my head, I can't recall
The
any other ones.
I think the Teen Titans both of those team ones did.
Phil does
The
bring-
Outlaws have Outsiders.
Phil does bring up a good point here because
Other than that, I don't think they really do.
after Teen Titans, they gave us ATAs for almost every single one of the team bases that didn't have team abilities.
Mhm.
So I mean, we could be looking at an Excalibur ATA that plays really well with that Captain Britain's ability.
Yeah, I mean,
It's one of those.
I wouldn't doubt it because they did just spring a butt ton of those ATAs on us all out of the blue. So maybe they are going to start keeping up with ATAs, which would be awesome because as many options as you can get to team build, the more options, the better. They spoiled another classic Batman piece. It's Catwoman.
And she's an interesting ability, doesn't she?
So this is the first piece that showed us. I'm assuming this is a mechanic that's going to be on some of the villains in this set. And the mechanic is called Elaborate Death Trap. It's its own mechanic that is solo to the set, kind of like how grenades are for Halo. Mm-hmm. It's called Elaborate Death Trap. At the beginning of your turn, you roll 2d... Okay, well, I should do the other part first. Give Catwoman a power action to make a close combat attack that deals no damage. Once per game, immediately place a hit character on this character's card. A character on this card can use the Escape Death Trap ability. So basically, only once per game, you're getting a kind of quasi-capture ability. But the thing is, the person that you capture gets a chance to get out.
Yeah.
To get out, they at the beginning of their turn, they roll 2d6, and Catwoman rolls a d6. And she adds her d6 to her Death Trap bonus. A maximum bonus of 8. If Catwoman is friendly, not on the map, or if your result is higher than her total, then you get your character back either in your starting area or adjacent to a friendly character. Otherwise, you deal this character damage equal to the difference, maximum of 5. Now that's a little silly in my opinion.
It's a lot of work for what it does. I do want to bring up one thing that keeps getting brought up in the rules, though. People keep asking if white power counts as a color, and it does not for this power. They've had an orange clarify that, in case you guys are wondering. So it's only colored powers. It's a lot of work for a little bit of damage.
Yeah. I didn't read her special. So basically that's almost a trait, I'm assuming, that they're each going to have. Hers is called Giant Magnifying Glasses. Catwoman can use the Elaborate Death Trap ability, and the bonus is equal to the number of different colored powers showing on her and the target's dial.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump on that one.
That's a big bonus that's going to be hitting often, though, because looking at her click... Oh, so you said white's not going to count?
White doesn't count.
Okay, so let's say she usually has 2, and let's say the other person would normally have 2.
Yeah.
So that's going to give her a +4 on her dice roll.
Yeah, sorry, I totally jumped the gun. I thought that was part of these.
So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little tough to get out of the death trap.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like the mechanic in that it takes you so long to sit and read all that crap and to do it. Like, it's just, I don't like it.
It's one of those things where it's a lot of flavor and it's an interesting idea.
I feel like they tried to do something interesting and it didn't work out.
They could have simplified it a little bit.
Yeah, they wanted to capture the feel of the show with the ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yow.
Gosh,
she has a special attack ability called Eow. When Catwoman resolves a close combat action, place a Yow token on this card. Give her a power action if no friendly Tinkerbell the Tiger token is on the map, and remove the Yow token to place the tiger adjacent to Catwoman. So if we look at the token, it's actually right here. The token's good. It's kind of like the lion from Craven. It has the wing symbol. Don't ask me why. I just realized that. That might
what?
Be
Someone explained that before, and I completely forgot why.
Okay, so it's a flying tiger.
With a jetpack.
It's a jetpack cyborg tiger with charged blades and toughness. But it does have a base too. Also,
and 14 defense though. That's pretty low for a tiger.
I don't know how I feel about this piece. It's 60 points, even just for tie up. I guess it's okay.
It's my turn to say what you guys said to me last week.
What?
This set is goofy. Like, it's just one of those sets you're not really supposed to take competitively seriously.
I think that Batman and Robin are pretty competitive.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm playing Catwoman at Worlds. Hit me up.
I don't know if I'm sitting across the table and you say "eow" when you drop that bystander token. I might just get up and walk away.
Oh, and I win.
I'm gonna wink at him.
Hell
Well, if he winks at me, I'm heading back to his hotel room.
So,
and it just got gay.
Phantom X's dial got spoiled.
I wonder who wants to talk about this.
I have no idea. Who could have the biggest, man crush on
we'll just skip it
X-Force?
then.
Yeah,
No, we're not skipping it. I don't know how I feel about this Phantom X. I like him. I think he's a good piece. I think he's worth his points. But I really, really wanted a misdirection power. like, not his ability to dodge. I want him to have some kind of cool mind control power. Maybe we'll do him for a dial design contest in the future. But anyways, back to the one that they made. He has 142 points, which is pretty pricey for Phantom X. It's actually a lot more. I figured he would be around like a 90, 100 point piece. The main way that he plays is his trait, Eva, which, if you've read Uncanny X-Force, it's kind of his ship, but it's also a little more than that. I mean, it's kind of like an artificial intelligence that's almost a part of him. I don't want to get into it too much on the podcast. But when Phantom X has one action token and no friendly character named Eva is on your force, you can give him a free action and place an Eva bystander token on the map in an adjacent square. The bystander token has the flight symbol, 8 range, or 8 movement, 10 attack with a special attack ability. Friendly characters named Phantom X can use toughness and may draw line of fire and count squares and range from Eva squares. So I'm really digging that.
That's pretty good.
So basically, let's say I have one token, I pop Eva out, she moves, and then I shoot from her without taking any risk at all. I could be back in my starting area.
I'm sorry, Hunter. What's that on his first 2 clicks that he has that would play really well off that?
Sharpshooter?
No, ranged combat expert.
Oh, and he also has running shot too, and stealth.
So you could run? Could you running shot back then shoot through her?
He is really hard to hit because he top 2 clicks. He has shape change and super senses and stealth.
So would you say he's worth his points?
Oh yeah. So movement ability, running shot, shape change, stealth. He has sharpshooter, no indom. He has a lot of reflexes down the next part of his dial, and some perplex, and a lot of precision strike. I think his power set is spot on. I just wish he had some kind of cool mind control power.
I kind of think, as you said before, he's a little like expensive for what I'd expect a Phantom X to be. I kind of wish they would have shortened his dial a little bit and made him a lower point figure.
Yeah, but he's a finesse piece. If you play with that Eva right, and like I said, he's going to be hard to take down.
Yeah.
I think he's worth it.
He'll destroy.
I mean, like, I don't know.
Especially if you give him indom from the belt or something like that. We say that all the time.
I know.
With Weapon X and X-Force, though, I kind of would like more lower point figures to build around than having a lot of expensive ones. Because, I mean, we already saw the Weapon X Cyber from this set, and he's got 2 expensive pieces.
I'm happy with him.
Cyber's garbage.
You're garbage.
Yeah, we'll talk about Cyber again.
I like the credit.
Welcome to the
Gravity
Cyber
Feed one
Heroclix
is better.
podcast.
Yeah, he's definitely better.
Oh, Deathlock, real quick. Another
This was awesome.
X-Force
Oh, yeah.
piece that I was wanting that we got Deathlock and Deathlock Prime.
I do want to point out, when they spoiled the basic Deathlock, the first look on everyone's face is like, wow, that's kind of meh.
Manhunter, the only thing they're missing is a team base.
Some sort of X-Force or...
Guys, look, we've already had this discussion. The people don't want to hear me spout the F word every 2 seconds.
You know what'd be really cool is if Phantom X's asset dial gave him some sort of cool mind control power.
Never gonna let him live it down, folks.
And I advise everyone else to do the same.
You see Hunter at Gen Con, let him know about that X-Force team base.
So Hunter, if you win Worlds, you're going to design an X-Force team base.
I wonder if they would let you do that, if you could design your own team.
Well,
base.
Hunter just entered Worlds.
Whoever wins Worlds, just ask him. I don't even care if you make one.
He does. He's lying. No one knows that. He wants you to make an X-Force team base.
If you make an X-Force team base, I'll do some things to you that I cannot mention on the air. Okay, I finally got them pulled up big enough for us to read here. This is the Prime version. He has a trait. The first time each game, an opposing character would be KO'd by Deathlock's attack. Instead, turn them to their last non-KO click. Now, that's interesting.
It is really...
So, let's get into his... dial as a whole is 154 points, 8 clicks, pretty, and with indom, so that and sharpshooter, so that in and of itself is pretty good. He also has precision strike on either precision strike or energy explosion with very solid attack values.
How many bolts is he? Just
his
one?
whole dial, yeah, just 1 bolt. But he does have sharpshooter, so you can kind of pick on who you need to hit. A little easier to hit. He also has a ranged combat expert as a ranged combat action, so that's why he is important.
Yes.
That's why he's a boss.
Yes.
Oh my
This
god.
is, as far as I can remember, this is the only guide they've ever made that can running shot and RCE. So you're talking running shot with a 12 and a 3, or a 11 and a 4, or a 10 and a 5.
I want to point out my favorite thing about him: those keywords, son.
Yes, those keywords.
I mean, like, he's got some great ATA choices. You could go like 15 different ways with this dude.
Maximum Carnage.
And Maximum
Shield,
Carnage is one of
Scientist.
my favorites.
Shield one's awesome with his range attacks.
Oh yeah.
Wait, he's got Scientist.
Drew, there's another assassin figure.
Oh,
I didn't even realize
Marvel
that.
Knights.
The non-killing assassin.
So basically, you're gonna have him be your primary attacker and bust everybody up, but not kill them because he has a no-killing protocol.
Well, you don't even kill anyone in this game. You just knock them out.
What's the base one look like, Hunter?
I'm looking. Shut your mouth. He wouldn't be on the base anyways. Honestly, he wasn't one of the main.
No,
team.
I meant the non-prime one.
Oh, I'm looking. I thought you meant on the.
Phil's got a nice little picture here that looks pretty good.
Okay, we got the other Deathlock pulled up here.
He looks like a bag of Skittles, a traditional.
He does
battle
look like a bag of skills. I like him though. 97 points.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah.
6 range, sharpshooter, Indom,
Penetrating.
stealth and psychic blast on the top click. Then he has a couple clicks of running shot, energy
He
explosion,
can abuse his robot keyword.
Did you say he has sharpshooter?
robot. Yeah, he does have sharpshooter, robot, X Force, and future. So he's pretty solid too.
Stealth.
So that
sharpshooter,
is the
inside.
common prime, because he's only number 11. So he's going to be the
he's
common
common
prime.
Yeah.
So pretty happy with both of those two.
Man, stealth sharpshooter pinside, dude. I'm just saying.
That's it for
That's
the
such a-
X-Men spoilers we got this week. We did get no dials, but a couple pictures of the X-Men of the Iron Patriot.
No. Detroit.
Or,
Absorbing
sorry,
Detroit Steel.
sorry, Detroit Steel,
I missed that
Iron
one.
Man,
And absorbing.
and Absorbing Man, which we were really wanting an Absorbing Man with
Oh, man.
Fear
Yeah,
itself
And
coming
that
out.
sculpt's great.
No, we
All
need
the
to
sculpts
create-
look great. This is like what, Mark II, Mark III, like
Yeah.
an old school looking.
Yeah.
Back before he had sleeves.
Not the. It's Iron Man, but
Design.
like the first suit he had right after Silver, like so
Yeah.
it's like Mark II or III. Absorbing Man also looks sick. So does Grey Goth too.
Absorbing Man's got like that whole concrete arm and the brick leg, and I don't really know what's going on with that other leg.
If
Well,
the-
it's just his bottoms. His
And
prison
then-
garb.
Oh,
you
I
have the
didn't think about
giant Detroit Steel, which if anybody's read Invincible Iron Man, they're kind of
that. I
the
wanna
main.
point out-
They're the main subject of one of the biggest arcs in that
Yeah.
in that
America.
series.
Did they,
America.
Did they just paint red, white, and blue over Pacific Rim Clix and go, here's Detroit Steel?
It really
I was gonna
does.
say- I was gonna say he looks like a Hulkbuster.
No, he does look like a Pacific Rim, one of the soldier guys. Especially because he has a chainsaw on one
Yeah,
I
arm.
think they've just gotten really good at making robots.
Yeah, their new sculpts have been great.
Oh,
Yeah, we were looking at the Pacific Rim sculpts today, and they
Bioshock
are all
are really
excellent.
Bioshock came out great.
That's
That's fantastic.
it for the spoilers. There's one thing I wanted. We mentioned it last week, but we didn't actually talk a whole lot about it. But a guy at SDCC got a really close-up picture of the Spider-Man and his amazing friends team base.
Yeah.
You cannot see a set symbol on
Yeah.
it.
They were saying it's going to be either a con exclusive or a promotional thing or something like that.
Supposedly, the guy who took the picture was talking in Realms, and he said he asked the worker at the booth, and they said that it's from an unannounced upcoming set. So maybe it'll be from a future
I wonder-
Marvel set.
I wonder if they're going to do like some sort of like classic characters one, kind of like the Batman 50 or whatever set.
It's a 2x2 team base. It's not a full one.
Oh, like a classic TV for Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean.
Oh,
all
that's
the classic
true.
shows
Old
were-
Hulk.
Well, because
all the animated Marvel shows.
The dogs are movable. I just want to bring up that fact.
yeah, the
They
dog
mentioned
is
that.
the dog is also Miss Lion. The team is based off of the cartoon of the 1980s cartoon.
Which is terrible.
It is
You
terrible.
shut your-
Well, so is Batman, the classic TV series. It's Spider-Man, Firestar, Iceman, and Miss Lion. So who knows if it really is from maybe it is some kind of con exclusive or something. I guess only time's gonna tell. The sculpts look pretty good.
Oh, I know. I mean, like, and I like the whole like half constructed building in the background he's hanging on and stuff.
It's great.
So
Another Iceman.
Yeah, another Iceman.
that's it for official spoilers. But a lot of sets and other things have come out over the last week and a half.
Nib Shuttlecraft.
It's
What?
Nib Shuttlecraft.
Oh, I forgot. My bad. We got 2 Star Trek pieces that I just saw. Just a
They're
minute
tiny,
ago.
like they're easy to miss. but they're
Thanks,
interesting.
I promise I wasn't trying to accidentally skip over them real quick.
He wasn't-
I was.
Austin. Yeah. There's this. What's a federation?
The first shuttle is they spoiled 2 basic common shuttles. The first one's called the Einstein. It's got the Federation keyword and team ability. Phasing teleport, energy shield, and it's got a special damage power called dispatching support engineers. It can use support but can only heal a maximum of 2 damage. When it uses support and rolls doubles, it may remove an action token as well from a ship that is healed. It's only 25 points. It's an interesting little 25-point medic. And given how the pieces tend to be like intervals of 25-50 in these sets, it can fill out a team really nicely.
Yeah, I wish it was legal for a regular because I'd use it for a medic for 25 points with.
Oh, it's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny
Yeah,
size.
Phil just pointed that out.
You
Yeah.
medic that you carry around with you.
Yep.
Oh, I know. I mean, like that's a great piece.
I wish I could use this in regular clicks.
Oh, I know. And then
It's pretty good.
nothing like a 25-point proper keyword.
I don't think we announced who that was. It's Einstein. I don't remember
Yeah.
if it's there or not. Okay, and then Sakharov.
Which is another Federation team ability keyword. Its attack ability is planting hole mines. Can use incapacitate. When it does, roll a d6, and if you roll 6, deal 1 damage to the target. I like the piece. He's another interesting 25-point shuttle. Tiny, of course, again. It's kind of like a little 25-point tie-up piece because it gets combat reflexes on its top dial. So, like, you run it in, and then you just sit there and keep trying to in-cap and keeping your opponent
An
occupied.
18 defense for
Close
25
combat, yeah.
for 25 points isn't shabby.
Yeah, it's got no damage, but I mean, it's not bad for 25 points. And Riker's the captain.
Does the other one have inbound
Riker is the
too?
captain.
Riker's the captain.
Who is Riker?
Riker's like
Oh
the
my
manliest man
God.
He's
ever.
number 2
What's a captain?
or number 1, whatever he is.
Hunter, get out of here.
What
get out of
is-
here. We're commandeering this.
What is Heroclix? All right, now for the 4th time, that's all the official spoilers we've gotten this week.
But what about...
Tab
Shut up. We're not talking about that. Like I said, a lot of sets have come out in the last week and a half. We got the Bioshock, the X-Men Gravity Feed, and the Kick-Ass. We're going to go over the
The
KA2s.
KA2 set.
We're really excited about the KA2 set here.
We're going to go over first the Wolverine and the
Especially the
X-Men.
mother lover.
Podcast over.
The Wolverine and the X-Men Gravity Feed looks excellent.
I want to say
There's a lot
this-
of good
This
pieces.
is probably the best gravity feed I've ever seen.
It is definitely one of the best ones we've had for a while. Anybody have any favorites out of them that they want to talk about?
Shadowcat.
I like
All right,
the cyber.
talk about Shadowcat for us, Phil.
Alright, let me quickly bring it up real quick.
Here, it's right here.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see?
I got it. Yeah. Okay. My favorite thing was the keywords as well. Again, I'm a big Shield fan. She is 70 points. She has the phasing, teleport, and stealth. A white box throughout her whole dial. She flies, and my favorite thing is her disruption, which is Shadowcat can use incapacitate. When Shadowcat is given a move action after actions resolve, she can use incapacitate as a free action to make a close combat attack. And she targets all opposing characters occupying a square she moved through that have armor, robot, or vehicle keywords. Which we've seen, there are several, like a lot of Weapon X and
Yeah.
X-Force figs that have the robot keyword. Or
So the next time Awesome busts out that stupid Ultron drones team,
I don't know what you're talking about.
you just
get
play
that.
your Shadowcat and you face through 10 of them some bitches.
she also starts off, her first 3 clicks have the Outwit, the last 2 have Perplex, and she's
She's-
pretty hard to hit, too.
Yeah, 18 from close combat for the first 2 clicks, and then she has super senses with 17
For how
to
many
16.
points there, Phil?
Yeah, and again, for 70, and with the phase teleport, and you're moving through all those people, that's fantastic.
I think she's good,
She's
is.
a really good taxi.
especially with Colossus.
Especially the shield keyword.
Colossus, who works with her. He's 169 points, 8 clicks with a really beefy dial. He has a trait called My Dear Katya. Adjacent friendlies named Kitty or Shadowcat modified defense +1. So not only that, now you're making her a 19 from close combat, and she's carrying him into the fray to smack some bitches in the face. He's got defend with an 18 on his top click. That's not too shabby either. So now you're making Kitty a 21 from melee.
I don't know what you're talking
It's ridiculous.
And an invincible.
Defend and invincible. And he's hitting for 11 attack on his first 2 clicks with a 4 damage. Plus he has flurry on his second click, so it's maybe even worth pushing him onto flurry, super strength, 4 damage.
8 clicks at 169. I'm like, okay, that's a decent dial for 169. Then you realize that's invincible on the top click, and it's just ridiculous.
He also picks up defend and invincible again on clicks 4 and 5 with a 17 defense. So you're not killing. He's not going down quick unless you got some tons of outwit to waste on him. He's not going down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, he has the switch clicks with the red base, so it makes him look even more BA.
Oh, he's got defenders.
What do you mean? Oh, keyword, yeah.
Yeah.
And he also has Excalibur.
So you can give him defend the rest of his dial with other defenders.
I love the alternate switch clicks with they've been doing
Yeah.
since Teen Titans and with this set.
Drew, do you have one or two in particular you like?
I really like the Wolverine. He's pretty good. Solid 113. He can use Blaze's Call his Fangs if the result of the die is lower than his printed damage value. Instead of dealing damage, he may take another close combat attack against the same character.
That sucks, though, because then you have to try to hit him again and deal with their super senses.
That's not a free action. Can you do
whatever.
that repeatedly as long as you keep ending up lower?
It's not... It is a free action, though. We'll
Is
look
it?
it up.
If the result of the... he can use Blade Close Fangs as the result of printed damage instead of dealing damage you may make... no, it just says another close combat attack.
Yeah.
You might be able to. We'll look it up. Never-ending loops.
Yeah, because that's actually a lot better if you can.
He has Indom.
Yeah,
What about that trait there, Drewster?
he can use regeneration and toughness.
Oh, traded regen. That's not ridiculously good or anything.
Now, best thing, bringing us back to the old golden age days of our special abilities. We could pay for 12 points. You used to be able to get free action free action regen.
Yeah.
He's got that. What's he got there, Drew?
What does he have? He might have Weapon X.
At the...
At the beginning.
This makes for some good radio.
That's not cool.
His last 2 clicks, he can use regen as a free action at the beginning of your
So
turn.
he gets the old auto regen trait or auto regen feat from Golden Age for free on his last 2 clicks.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll just say, and he's probably my favorite revert for the Fear Itself Wolverine. His where you hit, what is it, click 5? Where is he at 5?
Yep.
He's at the free region.
That puts him right on the free regen.
Not only that, but he's utilizing both his white boxes.
An 11 attack.
But you wouldn't be able to
Sidestep.
regen once you switched.
Yeah, because that's considered his new starter.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I would like to point out once again, and this is true through all these gravity feats, their keyword selection is ridiculous. You got Avengers, Weapon X, you've got X-Force, you've got X-Men.
Well, that's how it should be, though.
Yeah.
There should be a lot of keywords on figures, and they're
This-
just now starting to get their crap together.
I want to take this Wolverine and
Static.
put him in his X-Force version. That'd be cool.
Don't you bring up Static's name.
He's not even a teenager, Hunter.
Anybody else in specific before I go over mine, Drew? Anybody?
Let's see
You
here.
want to talk about Deathstrike? You do like
I already
it?
talked about her.
That's true. We did go over Lady Deathstrike already.
We kind of
What about
all over
Hunter? Are we?
It was awkward.
What could you possibly be talking about, Hunter?
My 2 favorites. Number 1, the absolute by far best piece in this gravity feat is the
best
Shi'ar.
style ever.
The Shi'ar guard. Not only is it looking fabulous, but it has 27 points. It's only 27 points. Charge, super strength, 10 attack, and 2 base damage, so 4 with the heavy object. And its damage ability is a minion power. When Shi'ar... Man, why am I so tongue-tied today? When Shi'ar guard is within 8 squares of a higher point character with the Shi'ar keyword, it can use willpower and +1 defense. So these things are basically cheaper Amazons.
Yeah, they're great filler for when they spoil the Imperial Guard team base. They're going to be great filler alongside that because their thing will trigger off
And
of...
with that being said, if you guys have been thinking about not buying this gravity feed and everything else we've said have not convinced you to, this is the only place you can get the Shi'ar guard. They're not, from as of right now, they haven't been released
For
or
good
spoiled
reason.
in the set, and these are amazing generics and support pieces.
I'm wondering
right
if they, because usually the gravity feeds do show up. I'm wondering if they do show up what they're going to be on the main set side too. I wonder if they'll be a ranged piece, because usually they flip. They do one melee and then gravity feed and a range.
My second favorite is Jean Grey. I think people are kind of sleeping on this piece a little bit. It's not that flashy, but it's just excellent for your team as a whole. It's 100 points. Hell, you could even use her for your primary attacker. She has running shot. When she does, her speed value is not decreased by the carry ability, and she may carry up to 3 characters if they share a keyword with her.
And with enhance on top
with
of that?
A penetrating, psychic blast, 8 range, 2 bolts, 17 energy shield, and 3 damage. Like Austin said, with enhance. So she has enhance and support sprinkled in on her dial. She has energy shield the whole time, and she has psychic blast and TK the whole time. She has that running shot carry for the first couple, then mind control, then force blast. I love her.
She's got X Factor.
She's really
I'm going to keep her at max range. I'm going to carry my guys, my X-Men in when they need to heal, and not only carry them in, but also be able to blast
I like
away.
the sculpt. The sculpt looks really cool.
I think she's excellent. She would be the best if it weren't for the Shi'ar.
You know what my favorite piece out of this is, Hunter?
What's
The
that?
Multiple Man.
The multiple man we've been talking about all day. He's so sick.
I love him for 54 points.
He's great.
I mean, like, he's got a trait, you shouldn't have hit me. He can use super senses. When he does and takes damage, after actions resolve, he may place a character named Multiple Man, Madrox, or Jammy Madrox of the same or lower point value on the map adjacent to him on the same click number. So, if you damage this one particularly, you can just place another one right next to him, and you can just continue this on. And then his movement ability is called Pile On. When Multiple Man is adjacent to one or more friendly characters named Madrox, Jamie, Madrox, or Multiple Man, they can all use Plasticity. And his dial's really good. He's got Mastermind, which is great for when you spawn those extra ones next to you. He's got Leadership, which he's 54 points, which puts him slightly above some of the other versions. He's got Willpower on his second click, and Empower, which once again you have Madrox's next to you swinging in. Perplex. And then he drops all the way down a regen on the bottom dial. He's a cool piece. I mean, you slap him twice, and you get through his super senses, and boom, you have 2 more figures next to you, and you can regen on next turn all the way back up and start over again.
They also have X-Men TA, so they can heal each other back up.
Fallen Angel?
Basically, I mean, that plus the plasticity, and along with his keywords, he's providing excellent tie-up for Hydra, Shield, X-Core, and X-Factor teams now.
I didn't even check his keywords. And the sculpt is easily one of my favorite sculpts.
We've been talking about trench coats. This guy's got a pretty slick-looking trench coat.
He's going to be a great conversion piece.
Every piece is pretty good. You're not going to... If you buy even one booster, you're going to be happy.
Pick up a few of this guard feed. Oh, one of my top 10s was Toad that I wanted, and we got an actual dial for him. 67 points. That's a little expensive for a tie-up piece, but he is pretty good tie-up piece.
His trait kind of makes him worth the 67.
For one, he has traded Leap, Climb, and Sidestep, so he's going to tie up whoever the heck you want him to tie up. He has a 19 from Melee on his top click, and then an 18 for the next couple of clicks with Poison and Exploit. Yeah, and he can move through water. So, this is, I don't quite know if he still is worth 67 points. He does have Brotherhood, so he's going to be able to leap, climb, and jump around without messing up your actions. But
his dial's a little wild for me. Like, it's like he has a power, then he doesn't, then he has it, then he doesn't, and then, like, white for the bottom, like, half of it, kind of. But it's just not, like...
He has an all-white click, so...
Yeah, he has an all-white click. He's okay for 67.
I'm going to play him just because I wanted him really bad.
Yeah. Once again, good book piece.
Yeah.
6 of the gravity feed guys
is
so
this
far.
Gonna be your new
Switch
catchphrase?
Clicks.
Yeah, let's talk about this cyber. Phil, why don't you tackle
We are
this?
so tired of talking about Cyber, Phil. We're going to make you talk about him.
I love him.
Let me get up in here real fast. So, let's see. The Cyber he is starting off at 167 points. Adamantium Enhanced. That's one of his traits. Cyber can use Regeneration and Super Strength. When he uses Regeneration, subtract 3 from the D6 instead of 2. But his minimum result is 1. So, I mean, that's a really cool trait.
And we were just talking about how good traded regen is, and we always bring up how regen is one of our least favorite powers sometimes because it's too risky. Like, there's some figures you should just never use it on, and it's the vast majority. It's so luck-based. Having the minimum one's at least nice.
It's very situational.
Yeah.
If you're off by yourself, then it's worth doing it. But, like, Visions are a pain in the butt to kill. I've played 2 specific tournaments I can think of in my head where it's me and a couple guys against a Vision who seem to always have phasing and regen on their last couple clicks, and you can never kill the SOBs because they just phase away and then regen and then they come back.
That Chaos War Marquee Vision comes to mind.
But yeah, typically regen isn't really worth it, but having minimum result of one is pretty much always going to be worth it.
What about that second trait there?
His second trait, go ahead, Phil.
Oh, psionic tracking. When an opposing character takes damage from Cyber's attack, place a psionic tracking token on its character's card, and if it does not have one already, or if it does not have one already, Cyber modifies this attack value by +2 when targeting a character with a psionic tracking token.
And that's good because it doesn't make you remove it either. A lot of powers that do that make you take the token off. He's going to always get that +2 attack against you once he hits you.
And then his attack ability is he can use Blades, Claws, Fangs if the result of the D6 roll is lower than his printed damage. Instead of dealing damage, he may use Mind Control as a free action targeting the hit character.
Yeah.
In combo with that psionic tracking, that's kind of interesting. I mean, like, it's not great, but I could see some fun stuff with him.
He's a piece that I look at. Initially, I don't like him. He's expensive. And
Clix.
he has blades, and if I'm paying 167 points for a piece, I want it to dish out guaranteed damage. But he's so kind of all over the place that I kind of am going to hold out my... the jury's still out on him until we've used him a few times and decide whether he's really worth it or not. I can't judge him, really, by looking at him.
Once again, I'm going to bring up my usual. He would be a good belt target for me. He ends on 167, which means you can throw a 13-point belt on there for an even 180. It would give him the end dom he needs to push to regen or whatever if he wants to. He's not. Don't get me wrong. He's not an amazing piece. He's all right, and I feel like I could play him with some fun stuff, some good relics, whatever, and I could enjoy this piece. He's much better in the main set one.
And real quick, we'll go through Havoc, we already talked about him on our very first episode, but I think he's an excellent piece. Running shot with 4 damage, sharpshooter, energy explosion. He's a wild card, but can only use TAs if friendly characters have a keyword with him. He has energy, shield, and toughness, almost his whole dial. He's a good piece.
Yeah, he's solid.
So that's all of the Wolverine and X-Men Gravity Feed. Now we actually just played and just talked about Bioshock pieces. The whole Bioshock set came out. The sculpts for Bioshock turned out excellent.
Oh man, like there's a few of those, like the big robot guy that has like the giant hands.
Handyman?
Yeah, the handyman. Oh my gosh,
Mechanized Patriot.
Mechanized Patriot. Guys,
it's George Washington.
It's George Washington with the freaking Gatling gun.
And like U.S. flags as wings almost.
Streaming, yeah.
And
it doesn't care.
It's as big as the Pacific Rim Clix.
Even better, it's got penetrating sacrifice.
He just don't care. George don't care.
He has traded running shot if he has no action tokens. He's a great piece. He has RCE for the last 4 clicks. He's a little expensive, but from what I saw when he was being used today, watching people use him, he was worth it.
If you use him, I feel like he's an easy piece to misuse, though. Like, I do want to point that out. You kind of do have to think about him a little, especially with that trait. Position him on your first turn, clear him, and then on your third turn, just blast somebody who's not expecting him.
So we're not going to talk about every single piece individually, but we can talk about a couple of our favorite pieces from it. We already talked about Slade a great deal. He's the best overall piece. I don't want to go into too much on him. But honestly, you got to get a hold of a Slate. If you play, indie or non-Marvel, non-DC Clix at all, get a hold of this Slate. He's only a common, and he is a boss.
Phil's got a nice piece to show off over here, actually.
What you got, Phil?
I thought Shock Jockey was definitely. I mean,
it got used against me today and almost screwed me up so bad.
Just seems a very fun piece to utilize. The throwing sparks when it hits an opposing character with an attack. Opposing characters adjacent to the target are given action tokens. That's fantastic.
As I said, I had that whole balled up enhancement team.
Yeah, it would have been good against Austin's enhancement guys. I got the starter set. The maps are awesome. It does come with a nice new PAC. That's a little, like Phil was telling me, it's a new PAC, and it's a little more hard card stocky than the other PAC that they put out in what was it, Man of Steel?
Yeah.
The pieces aren't. There's no really excellent pieces, but the best one, in my opinion, is the freaking Handyman. He is a house. 150 points, a trait of super strength, and when he has no action tokens, he can use TK as a free action. but only
I
to
didn't
place an
catch-
adjacent friendly character. That's what I was telling
I
you.
didn't catch the free action part.
Yeah,
I was
I was
wondering why you
so
were
I was
so
trying to
up
tell
all
Why
about
would you
Austin's-
not TK in or Slate and then throw stuff down Austin? I mean, that would just be
That's what I told him. I said,
ridiculous.
you play a couple of the enhanced guys, you move them up, you free action TK Slate up with Handyman.
You should have
and then
bolded the free action part.
I
'cause can't
I
read
said it. I'll bring up the Facebook message right now. This Handyman is awesome, and not only does he have that free action TK,
Founders.
but he has Founders TA. He has Charge and Leap Climb, and when he uses Charge after action to resolve, he may use Force Blast as a free action.
He's got 4 generic keywords.
He's got Armor Brute, Monster, Robot. He's got 8 Clix, a lot of Charge, Quake, and pretty solid. He has that traded Super Strength you got to keep in mind. So he's worth 150
Oh
points.
yeah, definitely.
That was my standout out of the starter set. The other one that I thought was pretty good was the Automated Stallion. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have any of the named keywords. It just has Animal, Brute, and Robot.
It has animal, though.
Yeah, it's 50 points.
Getting blades.
It has a trait carry ability and may carry up to 3 friendly characters, and that's not with
70.
keywords. That's any 3. Just for that fact alone, it's worth 50 points.
Yeah.
And it's decent tie-up, too. It has toughness for 4 clicks with 17.
A 50-point taxi is always worth it, though, to me.
Not only that, he gives... his movement ability is give him a free action and choose an adjacent friendly character. That character can use toughness until your next turn. So he carries 3 people, and he gives one of them toughness.
Well, I could think of some good combos
For
with
50
that right
points.
out the gates.
But-
Anyone that already has combat reflexes, super senses, you just step up the game even more.
I thought he was pretty good. The Daisy and the Booker aren't too bad either, and the Elizabeth
That
isn't too bad.
Sabertooth.
Um,
He's also animal. He has combat reflexes,
You-
super senses,
the-
give him toughness.
Okay, now you're thinking along the
Whoa.
lines of what I'm thinking, and I was about to tell you that you could just have Craven give him a free action, do that,
And carry
and then
3.
carry 3 people, and then the horse can go do something else or something. I don't know.
Listen to Drewster's big ideas over here.
Austin used the Commandants a lot
Oh,
today.
man, I love those. There is a misprint on their dial. I do want to point this out. Their special attack ability does not show up on their dial. It's on their 1st, 4th, and 5th clicks, it shows up as white on there. They're ridiculous. Their trait is them and adjacent friendly characters ignore the effects of hindering terrain on line of fire. I've brought up before, ranged teams have a big problem with stealth, and that's like the big hard counter to them. Having the ability to give themselves and adjacent characters the ability to ignore hindering is huge for 50 points. And then their attack ability is if they make an attack roll and it's a 6, an adjacent character can be given a ranged combat attack as a free action.
If
Or-
either dice rolled is a 6,
Yeah, if
so
either
as
is
long
a
as
6.
one of your dice ends up being a 6,
And I mean, like,
that's if you miss or not.
Yeah, it's just if you roll. So, I mean, like, it's a great piece. And the energy explosion I got some use out of. They drop into running shot willpower, but the enhancement and that attack ability together, you're just throwing so many shots down range.
When I had to play against them with my Gears of War team, the problem I had was their ability to ignore hindering, and he had a really good map for it. It was like all hindering, and they were just sitting there chilling with their 17s plus their 1 for the 18, and they're ignoring my
And then I'm
hindering.
throwing founders out there and
Yeah,
sniping
plus
at
he's
one guy
getting
at
the
a time.
founders for +1 attack, so
I would combo them. They work well with the founder soldiers from the set. I think they'd work really well if you had a good pin side character with them to be thrown at. Oh wait, it's a free attack, isn't it? Not free action.
it is a free make a ranged combat attack
Okay, so pin side wouldn't work.
on the same target.
Enhancement and a free attack to anyone adjacent though alone is good, especially 1 out of 6 on either dice.
Anybody else got anybody in particular they really liked out of the set?
The turrets were kind of cool. Basically, like I'm just gonna sum them up. They both get a trait called Alarm. If someone within 6 squares on your team is hit with an attack, you put an alarm token, and whenever they attack, you can take any number of alarm tokens off to modify your attack or damage by 1. So I mean, they're really good when like I had a swarm team like that, and like they were constantly getting picked off. The turret would build up, and my opponent wouldn't realize what was going on, and then when they got near, I'd just blast them. And the rocket one particularly gets penetrating energy explosion on the main target it hits. So you beef up its damage with the enhancement from the adjacent commandants, it ignores the hindering, and you just blast somebody for 45 points.
I like Boy of Silence, I like Daisy, and I like the Siren is a pretty solid piece too. It has no way of dishing damage, but it has a cool damage ability. It can use support, and when she does and the character is healed after action resolved, the targeted character may immediately use charge or running shot as a free action. She's also hard to kill, too, because she has a 20 from range.
Hey, Hunter, what just came out in this last set that has a really good running shot with RCE? Or what's coming? With a 50-point medic that phases and follows him around? Tell me that wouldn't be a little bit ridiculously awesome.
The Booker Liz is pretty fun and flavorful. It's nothing special for its points, but it's pretty worth it.
It reminds me of the
It's also stopping prop control. That's one
It
important.
kind of reminds me of the Master Chief Arbiter a little bit. Like it's a good piece in this set for 150.
Also, check this. I just noticed. Opposing characters within range who use a free action to use Outwit or Perplex must be given a power action instead. So it's straight up stopping Prob, and it's costing you an action token for Outwit or Perplex. These guys with the Trinity of Sin, the guys that are giving you, you're just like double Outwit, double Perp, double Prob, and they can't do jack crap about it. Anybody else got anybody in particular?
I haven't been able to play it, honestly.
Oh man, I would advise, like, honestly, for a video game set, this gives me good hope for future video game sets.
You haven't even played the video game.
Yeah, I should note that Austin won't play the damn video game no matter how much Austin or Drew and I get on him.
I've got a very long list of games to play.
The first Bioshock is one of my top 10 favorite games.
That one.
Oh my gosh. Infinite was very good too.
Yeah.
I even take up for 2, even though everybody else bashes on it. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still a good game.
I wouldn't know, I haven't played it.
I know, you won't play anything. Kick-Ass 2 came out. We had already...
KA2.
KA2, excuse my language. It came out... We talked about it last week, so we're not going to go too in-depth about it, but we used some as prizes at Game Preserve Wednesday, and the sculpts aren't bad. The Bioshock sculpts are better.
Yeah, but the Bioshock sculpts also have more chances for details. The KA ones are like just people in like body armor.
Generics,
like
yeah. The Red Mist did look pretty well, I thought, and the Hit Girl looked pretty good too.
The marquee figure looks awesome. The
Colonel Stars and Stripes is awesome, but apparently he's only like kind of like a buy-a-brick, I guess, or like a...
Yeah, you get so many...
You only get like one per case or couple cases, or I don't know.
So we ended up actually just giving it away as fellowship to make it fair for everybody who showed up. It was kind of a surprise too. So
I wasn't expecting that.
Everybody was kind of happy about that.
Do you happen to know how many cases he ordered?
I believe it was just the 2. So I'm hoping if he orders more in the future.
So two bricks or 2 cases?
I think it was 2.
Because two bricks come in 1 case.
It was 2 bricks, so 1 case.
Okay,
so
maybe they'll give 1 per case. That'd be nice.
But it wasn't in the case. It was a throw-in on the order. So I don't know if it's a distribution thing with ACD or Diamond, wherever you order from, which I think are the same.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
It's a cool
it says
piece
it's a marquee fig. So.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it comes with the Eisenhower token also. It's a pretty good set. There's some good pieces. The Hit Girl in particular was good.
Yes.
I did pick up the starter set. The maps in the starter set are pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I like them.
And some of the figs are pretty good too, especially the Kick-Ass. Sorry, the KA. The Dave Lazuski. So I guess we can real quick say that there was a Tab App announcement, Tab App Elite, but all they announced was that there's going to be an Iron Man and an Iron Patriot. So big whoop.
Which we already knew.
We already knew was going to happen anyways. That's enough for news.
From those pictures. Yeah.
Let's get into Just the Tip, which we kind of touched on a little bit earlier today. But the Just the Tip...
Well played there, Hunter.
That was totally on purpose, by the way. I want to talk about map selection and how important it is.
God, I can't even begin.
It blows my mind how many people build their team and come to play, especially when it's something that there's a pretty good piece up for, like if it's for an official event, and they're really wanting the prizes, that they don't take map into effect, like they don't bring a map or have a map in mind that they can borrow from somebody or something. Like, just that map alone today, Austin especially he won and lost based on that map, based on map choice.
And the thing was, the game started, I was winning it at first, and then it just flipped on me as soon as the map started turning on me, really, because I positioned myself poorly on it.
You sure did.
But for map, when I first started Heroclix, my problem was honestly laziness. I didn't want to tote around a bunch of maps with me. I would highly advise people that whenever people are giving out maps for free, take them. Sit down and get a nice group of maps. They sit and fold. You can put them in like a folder even or something in a backpack. Carry them with you, and when you build your team, pick a map.
Yep.
There is such a big advantage on map. I picked up, the Realm of Death or whatever map. I can already see 5 or 6 different situations that map would ruin certain opponents' teams. And I'm going to play it with my zombies every time now because it's a close quarters maze of walls. JL Team Base is going to have problems in that map. We're probably going to be seeing a bit of that at Gen Con when people are running Ghost Rider teams.
There's 2 ways you can use the map. You can use it to your advantage, or you can use it to cover your disadvantages.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, if I build a team and I see that it has a huge weakness to characters that can get in and out really quickly, like Hypersonic especially, then I use a map that has a lot of hindering, because they have to stop and then don't even get to do their attack at all. As soon as they hit hindering, they're done. Like that Lord of the Rings map that is indoors, in the Hobbit house or whatever, that has a lot of hindering. That's a good one for anti-hindering. When we played Street Fighter, it was kind of a pain for Bison, because there's all those squares of hindering, and then I put my objects up, cutting off all the corners.
You ruined me with that map,
I cut off all the corners where Bison can't get in or out of there. He has to spend time destroying all the objects to even get in and out.
And that's the thing, like, especially if you're playing a team with a lot of figures in it that you know you're going to get a good choice of map, pick one that's going to absolutely cover your bases. People will spend 50, 75 points on a figure just to cover their problems. They don't realize there's a dozen maps that can do that just as well and cost you nothing towards your build.
Yep.
A good example of using a map that really helps your team is, like I said, I didn't get to actually play and compete in the tournament today. We had an odd number of people, so I sat out. But I brought at Gen Con, I'm going to use the Bizarro World map.
It's a classic.
But today, I don't own that, so today I brought the Rooftops of Gotham map. And the reason I want that type of map with a lot of elevated for this team is because of the Locust team ability. Basically, it gives them phasing, and after they complete their phase, they can knock back a character 1 square.
Oh, you did this
today. Yeah, today I was using it to knock Austin's guys into walls, or to knock his Slate away from all his enhancements and mess up his line of fire so that he couldn't pulse wave.
Yeah, when you first knocked that one guy into the stage to deal 1 damage like that, I was like, that is clever.
So, not only that, but I'm going to use a map like Bizarro World where people are constantly standing on the rim of elevated. Mm-hmm. Phase in on one side of them and knock them down the stairs for 2 free damage. I mean, that's just sick. Like, think about things like that. I wouldn't necessarily say that I think of the map before I build my team. It's more I build my team, and then I think, what map can I use that really takes advantage of this? You got any good examples, Phil?
I was actually looking at that while we're speaking, and the Shadowland map from Incredible Hulk.
Gosh.
That nerfs a lot of
teams. It cock blocks
me up so bad
all the time.
So when I feel like I just want to kind of get a little, crazy, maybe run a Weapon X team.
Yeah, exactly. Weapon X would be great.
I can just stand outside that charge range, let them figure out what they're going to do, and then just get in there.
If I was playing a Fear Itself like worthy team, that would be my go-to map.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you'd be forcing them to get close to your giant beater character and start smashing people.
I want to make one correction. Last week we talked about getting the most out of the Book of the Skull, and I had said that it was after actions resolve is when you take the Clix. It's actually not after actions resolve.
So that was right. You can flurry.
So you can flurry and turn it as soon as the first one hits. We don't have corrected cards yet, and I'm kind of wondering when we're going to get them. On our cards, it doesn't say anything about turning the dial, period.
Yeah.
But apparently, you can flurry, and then as soon as the first one hits, you'll turn the belt, I'm so used to belt by now. You can turn the Book of the Skull and then make your second attack.
Oh man,
we were correct. I was correct on the Quake that no matter how many characters you hit with the Quake, you're still only hitting one. You're still only making one attack and hitting once. So you're going to get to roll once.
That actually came up several times during the Fear Itself at CBU. So
should have listened to the podcast.
I did.
No, it's not about them.
Our main topic today is
How much we want an X-Force team base?
largely based around the fact that we have Phil here with us today. We're going to talk about growing the community and kind of a subtopic of judging and how to help your venue if you're the judge or if you're a new judge. Kind of some tips.
You rule with an iron fist and crush all opposition.
That's right.
Literally the opposite.
It helps if as soon as you walk in, you bitch slap the biggest guy who showed up to
And
play.
assert your dominance. Throw his figures on the table.
Heroclix players.
When we first started playing, our local community, I don't want to say Heroclix was dying out, but it definitely wasn't flourishing.
It was lulling. Like, it had kind of dropped.
Yep.
CBU had 10-ish players on a busy night, maybe a dozen on the busiest I had ever, back in the day on big events like No Man's Land Month 1. And we didn't play a game preserve, but from what I had heard from talking to people, it only had 6, 7, 8, right, Phil, before you started?
Month 2, right before I started, of No Man's Land, it was month 2 or 3, they had 3 players show up for a No Man's Land event.
So when Austin Austin Drew and I first started playing at venues, which was actually about the same time that Phil started playing at venues, it's just we didn't know Phil as far as played HeroClix with him all the time back then.
It was a dark time.
It wasn't, the scene wasn't flourishing, and we had enough people to keep running tournaments, but the Greenwood community as a whole, there just weren't, people didn't know each other that well, and also it was hard. A big problem with playing at Comic Book University, you never knew what your build was going to be. Like, you had to get it through word of mouth. I really had a problem with, there were 3 or 4 specific situations where I was like ticked off because we would be told that an event build would be one way and we would show up and it would be something totally different. Like, they would say DC only, and then you show up and everybody's got Scarlet Witches and all this crap, and I thought it was DC only.
2 examples, I had to buy figures while I was there to rebuild my team.
Yeah, and that, like I said, 3 or 4 times that happened, and I was like, this is not how you should be running things. Like, you need to be more organized than this. So I think a big part, well, I guess we can get into that in a minute. First, I should say, Ricky hooked me up with the dugout, and I started judging there. And one thing that I started doing, and that Phil does really well now too, is staying in contact with your players and having a place where they can constantly communicate with you and ask you questions about what the build's going to be, and without having to just show up and just hope that they have what they need. Especially with us having a lot of new players now. Yeah. So back when I first started, I started a Facebook group, and this kind of falls into the realm of tips for improving your community, or if you're a new judge, is start a Facebook group or start a Twitter or something, however your players like to communicate, whether it's on forums somewhere or whatever. Talk to your guys and talk to them and find out what's the best way that they want to stay in touch. I think for the average person these days, it's Facebook, just for the ease of communication. But I started a group just for Dugout, just for our venue, and started our own Heroclix group and got the owner involved and got everything approved. And basically, I post all our events ahead of time. I write all the details on what the event's going to consist of, the rules and everything, and then people can ask me questions beforehand, like, is this allowed, is that allowed, and I can answer them that same day. And not only that, I keep up with our standings during the official venues, tournaments like No Man's Land and Fear Itself and stuff like that. And also, when we have rules questions come up during the game, I research them afterwards and post them and keep a separate document for previous rules questions. And not only do I explain what the answer is, but how I got that answer and where you can find it in the PAC and the rulebook, so that everybody kind of learns as a whole. Because we had some new players, including us. We were still newish players at the beginning.
Yep.
I was going to say, the one thing I like, it's really important to have a static place to know what the next event's going to be. Because it's really, there's a lot of times I'll be building, or they'll tell me the week before, this is what we're playing next week. I may not build my team till the day before, and I need to be able to know what that team is. I have to text 5 people and hope I get a response by the time my time runs up. It's really important to have a static location where players can go, and Facebook's great for that.
having that Facebook group really helped us grow as Clix players and as friends and as a community, because like I said, like we were talking about last week, even though we've been playing Clix for a while, we weren't playing in an official forum. We were playing at my garage, and
It was fun.
And I knew the rules, and I always had a passion for like trying to learn the rules and why, and I spent a lot of time learning, and so I was judging and everything, and it was kind of the head of everything. But this was the first time that we were actually in an official thing where I'm the head of something, and like I have to be responsible now. And I felt like us having that Facebook group really helped us like set a good example for what other places can do to keep in touch with their players, especially if they have new players. And then Phil was pretty much doing the exact same thing at the exact same time with Game Preserve, but we didn't really know. I came into Game Preserve one day and was talking to Phil, and then about Heroclix, and then he was like, you guys should come play with us on Wednesday, and I was like, yeah, and then I talked Austin into coming and playing that week, and we showed up, and we haven't missed very many ever since then. And their group, since Phil has started judging, has grown from, like he said, 4 or 5 to now 20-some plus players. And a lot of that has to do with Phil stealing Magic players, but I'll let him get into that. But Phil, talk about when you first started judging and the scene at Game Preserve back then and compared to now.
Okay, yeah. First off, by starting saying, I know a lot of people are still friends with a lot of people who were involved heavily in Heroclix at the GP when we started. So everything I'm saying here is all I wanted to do was improve the community. It had became stagnant. There was only a small group of guys in it, 8 max. It was more like 4 or 6 on the regular. And it really kind of, from the outside, if you're looking in, it felt like a small group of guys just sharing figs with one another from the prize, the OP kits and stuff like that, which I always felt was, it's not any way to build a community.
It's counterintuitive.
It's very counterintuitive, and there was no promotion of the league. It was very much like if you walked in and you saw Heroclix, oh, you guys play Heroclix? Yeah, you weren't going to get any feedback on what the build was going to be or anything like that. So, they were very nice to me. I worked there, and they let me start playing. And as I was kind of coming in, I brought myself, my friend TJ. We kind of came in, and we were just thinking, wow, we really need to get more people involved with this, which was easy because between TJ and I, we had a lot of friends. But
brag about it.
we had a lot of gaming friends, I should say, who were interested in trying out new games. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So, anyways, we got that going, and people were shifting, and a couple events were handled very poorly, in my opinion. So, my store manager, Nick Lazon, he said, hey, you want a chance of running this? I definitely wanted a chance of running it. I didn't know a lot about the rules, but I knew I can run an event from previously running Magic events and other games. So that was definitely the launching point for me, was just the passion of trying to fix it for all the players so it was fair, so people didn't feel like they didn't have a chance to have things happen. And I was definitely a little nervous at first, and we slowly went from the 6 to 8 to, we have 40 members in our Facebook group now, and it's about an 18 to 22 player rotation that's coming in and playing these events.
We're meeting new people week after week.
Yeah, every week we meet
week.
somebody new to the Clix and the Greenwood community, and it's largely based off of Game Preserve because that place gets a lot of traffic, gaming traffic in and out. It's the biggest, store as far as not just Clix but overall games.
It's definitely the biggest store that's given us a chance. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, also the quality of knowledge that is at that store for the games that they're involved with. All across the board, from Magic, 40K, Heroclix, especially now. You can walk in there, the role-playing guides, the people who work there, they're passionate about gaming, and I think that's why Nick gave me a chance. Like I said, I was an employee, but I got a new job almost immediately after I started. And he still said, I would love it if you kept running this. So I did. And, it's all about communication. I mean, if you're not willing to go out there and find the players, create the venues, get the events. I mean, if you're not willing to do that, it's not going to succeed. And I think that's the best part about this is I've met so many new friends. Everybody on this podcast. I mean, people I've never even met before. They come in, they just want to have a great time, and I think that's what we allow for at our venues here, CBU.
Dugout.
The dugout. It's just like across the board. I think that everything's really picked up.
The one thing I'd like to bring up is like me and Phil talked about this once before, the dugout. There's a big difference between a parasitic player group and a supportive one.
Yeah.
A good store and a good supportive player group will build each other, and they'll support each other well. You'll increase the sales of the store, and in turn, your community will grow and foster. If you're parasitic and you're in it just for yourselves, and you don't work with the store and the store doesn't work with you either way, it's damaging to the community. And I feel like there's a lot of Clix groups out there that they run into that problem.
Oh yeah, the selection was horrible because of, I mean, if you don't have the player base playing in your store or being active or knowledgeable about it,
there's no product.
The product's not going to be there, and so it kills itself. You don't have the product, the players don't come. All of a sudden, you're stuck with whatever was left. Yeah.
That brings up a good point that I had actually forgotten to write down on here. Is one tip whenever you're a judge that's just starting out is stay in constant communication and relation with your store owner.
Oh yeah,
it's a mutual. They are allowing you to do what you're doing, and they appreciate what you're doing. And they buy you price support, OP kits for the most part. I think pretty much every store owner I know buys their price support. But, it's kind of a you scratch their back, they scratch your back kind of thing. Like, what I started doing with James from the get-go was every week, everybody pitches in $5, but we use all the money for price support, and we're just buying those from James. So he's guaranteed
to move product.
He's guaranteed to move product. But he's also scratching our back. He's also providing us a place to play, and he's buying us OP kits. He constantly gives us good deals on product, and that's the same way with Nick at Game Preserve and Rob at Comic Book University. You need to form a relationship with your person who is running the store, and if they aren't well versed in Heroclix, like our store owner at the Dugout, James, he kind of knew what Heroclix was, but it's primarily a card gaming
store.
Very strong card gaming store.
Very strong card gaming
Magic,
store.
Vanguard.
And he didn't know anything about Heroclix, and so I look at the upcoming sets every few months. I send him an email like, here's what's coming out. I would expect from talking to the guys that you'll be able to move this much of this product and this much of this just from talking to our guys, let alone what you're going to talk to, what you're going to get from random shoppers coming in. And I think his product sales have skyrocketed.
Oh yeah,
I mean, just recently we've been buying out. We're buying the stuff off the shelves before we can use it for prize support.
We had a full case of Bioshock and it's gone already.
A full case of Bioshock and Wolverine the X-Men was gone with like 6 guys in like an hour. Like, I had to hold stuff back so that we could use it for prize support, or else it was going to be gone. And that never used to be the case. I mean, he's had starter sets up there that have been up there for years and years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, and that was the other point I was going to bring up. Some of our venues are really good about throwing in price support too, but a lot of these venues have old product they need to move. It's literally sat there for a while, and it makes for great price support. Like, we opened up, what was it, a Hammer Thor Fast Forces?
That was great.
I've never wanted to buy a Hammer Thor Fast Forces. I wasn't interested in the pieces. But as the $5 price support, hey, I really like that sculpt. It'd be a fun piece. I rethink it all individually when you're looking through those prizes. And it helped James move something he had a bunch of on the shelf that wasn't moving. It helped me discover some new pieces. And it's nice to have that little back and forth. As you said, scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Okay, and that's absolutely true. The thing about the Greenwood store, Greenwood Game Preserve, is also with the, he gives us an amazing,
absolutely
amazing price support. Oh, yeah. And I think that's a thank you as how we're moving product for him, and we really do appreciate that weekly. But another great thing is Nick, who had kind of dropped out of the game completely. He tried it once and almost got into it, and then just flared out. He is back. He's playing. He does fairly well. He has very good luck opening packs. and that's a volume thing, I'm sure. And the Scott,
Yeah.
he does the same thing. But I just want to get back to it real quick about building the community. You can't be scared to bring in the good players.
Yeah.
As a TO, I was very protective of the starting players, but I couldn't just turn away the good ones. The Harrys, the Hunters, the Austins. I mean, the people who had.
I don't know if we should include Austin on that list.
Well, you heard about these people throughout the community. The Jarris and Jasons.
Zombie meta.
You're just thinking to yourself, how do I bring in the competitive players, but yet keep it, fun for everybody? And I think with the communication, the build sets, and just having an all around good attitude with it, you're going to diffuse so much negativity that you have in the gaming world.
And I would like to bring up, I was talking to one of the hyper competitive kind of players last week, and we were talking about it. The one thing that GP does well, and we do at Dugout too, interesting team builds are always a good thing, and you do great with some fun ones. Like Decapitation was one of them, where if you roll crit, you kill.
Realms.
Yeah, you roll 2. And even the competitive player was saying that he doesn't like going and playing Power week after week. If he wanted to play Power, he'd go to Worlds, he'd go here, he'd go there. He wants to come play some basic events with some fun teams, some figures he never gets to play out of his collection, and then every once in a while break out the Power.
Yeah.
My thoughts are somebody's got to get sick of playing Ghost Rider every week.
Or Justice League.
Yeah, that's one good point. If you're the judge or the person running your events, don't constantly have bland, boring builds or builds that allow players to play cheese pieces, as the term that the Clix community likes to use. You've got to be creative in one thing I do at Dugout is half the time I prevent you from using resources and half the time I don't. So where it doesn't keep you from never being able to use them, but it's not always, somebody with the Magneto with the Infinity Gauntlet kicking your ass every week. You're always getting way.
You mean K in your A?
Drew just got the Magneto.
No, I was just saying. I was having flashbacks of the match where Hunter and I literally had most of our 2 teams left, and we got trounced by Magneto with Infinity Gauntlet.
Nobody wants, even the people who play those pieces. You don't want to go against that crap every week. You want to have some kind of build that restricts you and makes you learn the game.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are going to get sick of playing against the same pieces every week. You need to switch things up. The sad truth is people want to win over having fun. Not everyone, of course, but a lot of people.
I think it's a fair assumption.
A lot of people are more concerned about winning than they are doing well and learning and having a good time. I think we're kind of blessed that our community has a lot of people who are more worried about the latter, especially us, of playing new pieces or pieces that we really love from comics and stuff like that. But a lot of communities, like a couple of the places that we played at, me and Austin did when we first started playing, all they care about is winning, and all they care about is playing important pieces. So you, as the judge or the tournament organizer, have to be changing up the build every week to prevent that kind of thing from happening, because it's going to lead to stagnation.
Yeah.
Now that place that I was referring to, I hear other players talk about it who had just recently played there. Like, we just met a player who had just came to the community and had played there, and then he played at the Dugout, and he's like, well, this is definitely more what I'm looking for, instead of this place I was just at where everybody is always worried about, everybody's always out for the kill. Like, people, that turns people off. Well, go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, if the other thing about that is, if you're playing to win, you're not going to find grace in losing. And that's where people get mad. If you're playing for, a huge prize or something, I can understand. But if you're going for the kill every single week, not only are you wearing yourself out of the game, but every time you lose, you take it harder. And it's just one of those things, and the other thing to bring into it is, when you do these team builds as a judge, you don't just have to make it a different point or requirement cost. Like the decapitation thing. You can do and invent wacky rules. You could cut line of sight short. You could do all kinds of fun stuff.
Limit actions.
Limiting actions was a good one. It was a simple one. And it makes you rethink how you play the game and reanalyze pieces. And as we know here on the podcast, analyzing pieces is what we do. it's a fun thing to look at a piece that you're like, man, I'm never going to get to play this piece. But under these rule sets, this piece is broken.
Exactly. It makes you brainstorm, and it makes you learn, too. It makes you
as
learn
a
about pieces that you haven't really, you never knew existed, and then you're like, oh, this would be great for this event. But anyways, as the judge, that's something that you can actually control by setting the build. I think the big thing that, like Phil was touching on, the main thing to growing your community is getting the word out, not being afraid to talk to the Magic players before they start their tournament and say, hey, have you ever thought about playing Heroclix? Or make a Facebook group for your store. Start a Realms thread for your store that announces the build every week, and you might find a couple people on there that live in the area that you didn't even know
like Gaucho King.
Like Gaucho King. Put flyers up in the store. At Game Preserve, they have Heroclix up on the schedule board, but at Rob's, I'd like to start putting flyers up in there for Heroclix, saying what time it's going to be and when, and the build and everything. And go ahead, Austin.
I was just going to say that, like, crap, now I lost my train of thought. Continue for a minute, it'll come back to me.
Now you've thrown me off my train of thought.
I'll jump in real fast.
I'm going to kick it to Phil.
Hey, I got something to say.
Sure. Yeah. So here we go. Talking about the advertising, the scheduling, and stuff like that, and getting, like he was saying, getting the word out there. I mean, the promotions or the advertising on the boards, the word of mouth is really important. But go out of your way, seek out other game groups. Let them know. The event that Hunter ran last week, the Justice setup, I thought that was fantastic of getting players. If we had new players, they wouldn't even had to have used Heroclix. They could have just came and used our pre-built teams that I thought were fantastic and well balanced. So, it's all about reaching out. And that being said, I mean, Greenwood Heroclix League Facebook group. We have the Dugout. What's the title of your group?
Heroclix.
It's just
Dugout Heroclix. I mean, if you're in the Indianapolis area or in the surrounding areas, find us, message us, and we would love to have more players.
And that reminded me, actually. What I was going to say is don't turn away newbies. Like, some people, the
Seriously.
attitudes they give new players or people who are foreign to their game group, it really turns people off. Like, I mean, I can name a dozen games offhand that, like, I wanted to learn how to play, and I was watching people play, but I would ask a question, and they would just either give me stiff silence, or they would just, like, kind of shrug me off. If someone walks up and asks what you're playing, just say Heroclix, give them a quick explanation of it. I mean, like, it takes 10 seconds, and you might have just gotten someone else for your venue. And that's one thing I think, and I do want to compliment the whole Greenwood Heroclix group and the Dugout Heroclix group. We all answer questions really well. A lot of people come on there with questions, and we're never afraid. No one should ever be that term should never happen. No one should ever be afraid to ask a question about a rule or about anything like that. And you should never make someone feel dumb for asking a question.
Oh, it helps us as judges learn as well. I mean, like Hunter already expressed, we're both relatively new. Hunter is, I think, very well versed in the rules, but even the ones that he doesn't know, he's going to research, he's going to find out, because there's a lot of intricacies in this game that if you don't have the complete understanding, it's out there. And we're going to find it for you.
Every day I feel like you could learn something
Absolutely.
new. Even the rules arbs, I swear, probably learned something, some kind of combination that they wouldn't have known. They learn every day. You learn something. There's too many intricacies.
I could think of 2 times in this podcast alone, you've had to write something down for us to go look up afterwards with 2 judges sitting in the room.
Right. Well, and also I don't like to give answers. I feel like I know 80% what it is, but I don't want to say.
Yeah,
until I know for sure. But yeah, I know.
I need to learn to do that. I will make a ruling quick if it's time constraints. Unfortunately,
while you're playing, if a rules question comes up,
best judgment.
Take your PAC and your rule book, and if you can find the answer in a timely fashion, which you should be able to if you're judging, you need to be very familiar with the rule book and the PAC.
Yeah.
Right. Find the answer as quickly as you can and give it. If it's not in either one and you haven't previously ruled on it before, then you make your best judgment in the situation, and that's the law for the rest of the day. Don't let people argue with you, and you make the rule to the best of your ability for the rest of the day. And then when you have time throughout the week, look up the official answer, and if you have a Facebook group, you can do what we do and give an actual official answer, explain why it works the way it does, and link to posts proving that it works the way it does. That's That's the easiest way to settle disputes. If you really can't come up with an answer, have each player roll 2d6. Whoever rolls highest, that person, that's the way you roll it for the rest of the day, and then, again, you look it up, and then you give the answer later.
And see, and that's another big thing is you got to make sure you explain why.
Or else people don't learn.
Yeah, it's too easy to like write it all off and say this is how it works. If you don't explain to them why, they're never going to understand in future references that are similar why it works like that.
Yeah.
And they just continue having questions and problems. And that you just have to break it down. You have to go on the rules forum once in a while as a judge.
All the time.
All the time.
Multiple times through the week.
I mean, like, I think weekly we have a ton of questions come up, but we always feel like it's a fair judgment call.
Get feedback on your if your players are getting stagnant, if your group's getting stagnant, ask your players what they would like to play. You know, if there's an interesting idea like decapitation, like that came up, like
I love that game.
like ask your players what they would like to play and write it down, and over the next few weeks, you know, try some of those out.
Mention keywords.
Yeah. Oh, I hate you.
Just stay in constant communication. That communication is the key, as far as getting your team build across, and also answering questions. Start a Facebook group. Have their cell phone. Give them your cell phone number so they can text you or email or something. Stay in communication with them. Go ahead, Austin.
I have one point that, like, you guys have it from a judge's perspective. I'd like to bring one from a player perspective. Something that players should do to foster community. Respect your judges.
Definitely.
I think that's one thing a lot of we've seen, even like in our good venues once in a while.
Yeah.
You have players who get argumentative, they get problematic. There's no point to be like that. Guys, in the end, it all comes down to this one statement. It's a game. You're there to have fun. I mean, once in a while you're playing for something big or important, but it's still a game. There's no point to ruin someone else's day over it. There's no point to sit and argue with a judge because they made a judgment call. They do it to the best of their abilities. I mean, if you feel like you're legitimately getting cheated or wrecked over something, sure, bring the problem up, but you don't need to do it in the middle of a tournament. You don't need to start arguments or whatever.
And that, reflecting that, and not only that, also respect your fellow players.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it seems to be like without saying kind of thing, but we, especially in our groups, have a lot of new players that we're trying to foster into being lifers of this game, this great game. And if you're
Sound like
just
a drug dealer.
First hit's free.
Oh, come in, kids. I'll give you a fast force.
First booster's free.
Here's your Amazing Spider-Man.
Exactly. I mean, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna get prizes at all our venues, and treat them. One day, we've literally had a guy who was, I think, last placed. What was he, like maybe 6 tournaments in a row? Month 1 fear itself. Rick rolls the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wins it, and it's because our players, they helped him out. He learned the game even better, and I think he's a better player, and he's a teacher now. He's teaching the other new players how. It's all about if you can create the chain of friendliness and positivity. And that sounds really cheesy, but I mean I think it's so important. People ask me my secret is I treat my players like they're my friends, and I'm lucky that they become my friends too. So.
And it's one of those things like me and you have talked about before. Our Magic community around here is pretty, I would warrant to even use the term toxic at times. Players are very violent. They're very harsh about things. They don't respect each other. If you win, it's because your opponent's terrible. If you lose, it's because your opponent's terrible. You don't take that kind of attitude into it. Everyone's there for the same goal. As I said, it's to have fun.
Play with toys.
Yeah. You get to play with action figures as 20, 30-year-old men.
Which is every man's dream, in my opinion.
And there's no reason. There's no reason to be like that towards an opponent. If an opponent beats you, be graceful, shake their hand, tell them good game, even if you got wrecked. Complain about it to your significant other later, or to a stuffed animal or whatever. There's
Soon
no
after you're single.
There's no reason to be hostile towards people. And I've seen people, like, even in our venues, they hold grudges. And there's no point to it. It's petty, guys.
Yeah, Austin, I'll never let it go.
Shut up, Andy.
I think Drew spoke for 45 minutes, and it's awesome. I like it.
So yeah, I think we've covered the main ones: communication and learning the game, making your best decisions when you can. We're going to move on to community. First, we're going to talk about dial design. Today is the deadline for my assignment and for Austin's assignment. I was very happy with the submissions I got, but I only got 3 guys, so
I will
hopefully,
post mine tonight.
hopefully we're going to get more coming soon. Again, this is something that restarts every month. So next month, it's going to refresh, fresh over. Everybody's going to start at 0 and going to continue on. I got a submission from Swagnito. On yours, I really liked your power sets. A lot of them, maybe not Prob, although I can kind of see Prob for Miles. I guess it could be like he's young. You never know. You don't really know what's going to happen with him yet. So I can see some Prob on his dial. But other than that, a lot of your power sets were what I wanted to see. You did give him a Venom Blast.
Yes.
But my main problem with your Venom Blast, and the reason that I didn't give you a 9 out of 10, I ended up giving you an 8 out of 10, is because it does not specify that the Venom Blast has to be a close combat incapacitate instead of a ranged. Because if you know Miles Morales, he gives you that incapacitate, that poisonous effect by doing the strike with his hand, not from his web shooters. So that was one thing that kind of struck me. I did like your trait. I thought it was a little creative. When a friendly character is KO'd by an opposing character's attack, put an inspiration token on Spider-Man's keyword. He gets +1 combat values for everyone, but I think that kind of gets a little nuts.
Zombies.
I mean, yeah, you throw 3 zombies on there. When they die, he's +3s now. It's good. It wasn't so good that I docked you any points. Like we said, if they're way too good or they're way too bad, we're going to dock you. I didn't dock any points, but I gave you an 8 out of 10, which is still a great score. Let's see. The next one is from Savage Hulk.
You missed one up a bit.
I know. I'm going to go back to his. I did like your Venom Blasts. Spider-Man can use Incap as a free action once per turn, but only to adjacent characters. So he got the adjacent part of the Venom Blast right. I liked that you used the Shield TA. I also like the Spider-Man TA. Either one of those would be great for these pieces. And the reason I kind of like the Spider-Man TA better on this piece is because of what I was just saying. He's a young character. You still kind of don't know what's going to happen with him. He is a wild card in the sense, that you don't know how he's going to end up. I also thought your values on your defense were a little bit low for it being Miles. The thing about Miles is he's hard to see, he's hard to hit, and he should have some. I feel like he should have some shape change on there somewhere, along with his stealth. So, but I also gave you an 8 out of 10. Your powers, again, were pretty good. The winner for mine, I gave a 9 out of 10 to We Are Venom's dial. It has a banner click that is very flavorful as far as the storyline. It's Spider-Man No More. Miles Morales can't be targeted by opposing characters. He has 0 attack and 0 damage on this, by the way. Can't make attacks and can't be given a second action token. Opposing characters automatically break away from him. When a friendly character is KO'd or takes damage from an opponent's attack within range and line of fire of Miles, which is only 4 range, you deal him 1 damage, remove any tokens, and he gets to his actual activation clicks. I like the creativity and the flavor with it being what happens, because this is whenever he decides he's not going to be a hero anymore, because I don't want to get into the storyline, but it does make sense comic accuracy wise. So I didn't personally, I hate banner clicks, but I didn't take.
I'm not even gonna. You already know my opinions on banner clicks.
I didn't take anything away from you for that. I thought your powers were more spot on, slightly more spot on than the rest. You got the trait, the camo on the nose of the fact that he needs to be adjacent to a wall or blocking. If you read the comics, it's the time it's hard to see him is when he's next to an object, and he can blend in next to them. If you look at anyways, I gave you a 9 out of 10. I liked your numbers and your power set better, and your creativity with the banner click. I made my ideal Miles Morales, which is very similar to you guys, although I didn't give him super strength. He's not really a super strength in the sense that Peter is.
He's not throwing cars.
He's not throwing cars all the time. His is more, I want him to be all about the incapacitate. My Venom Sting is Spider-Man can use Incap. If he uses it as a close combat attack, modify his attack by +1, and after actions resolve, deal an additional 1 penetrating damage. He also has traded. Lines of fire cannot be drawn to him when he's adjacent to elevated, blocking, or walls. And he has less than 2 action tokens. So, like, if he hasn't already shown where he is by fighting. I also gave him a special defense power later in his dial for willpower and super senses called Prove Myself to Fury, which is kind of my favorite storyline, or one of my favorite storylines with him so far, where he's they have the big civil war with ultimates, and he's fighting with Nick on the helicarrier and all that stuff. So, and I thought Sidestep is a really good power for him, and Spider-Man in general.
Yeah.
Being able to hop around. And I gave him a little flurry in cap towards the end of his dial, but a lot of reflexes, shape change, and super senses. I feel like that's what he should have, is definitely shape change. So again, I'm very happy with your dials. I gave We Are Venom a 9, Swagnito and Savage Hulk 8s, and those scores are going to be averaged in with Austin's and Drew's scores on their dials. Do you have your grades this week, Austin?
I do have my grades. There were no rescues this week, which kind of made me sad. Rescue's one of my favorite characters, and she was an interesting one, so I was looking forward to some. But the bishops, I do want to compliment everyone who submitted one. You guys put a lot of time into these. They're all really cool figures. Swagnito submitted a bishop. The one thing I did mark off for, this is a very, very busy dial with 2 really long traits and some really long special abilities, but they're very good ones. He gave him Improved Movement ignores hindering characters. He's a police X-Men hybrid, which is what I want out of a bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And his trait is Mine is the power to match yours. When bishop's the target of a ranged combat attack, he treats penetrating as regular damage. Now that's a great idea. I actually like. That's really creative for energy absorption. At the beginning of your turn, if he took 3 or more damage from a ranged attack last turn, choose one. You can have him deal penetrating damage until end of turn, modify his attack by 1, and he can use willpower until your next turn, or roll a d6 or on a result of 1 to 3 heal him 1 click. On a result of 4 to 6 heal him 2. This trait can't be ignored. It's an interesting trait. I think he could have done without the choose, honestly. I would have probably cut it down to one of the powers. To police and patrol around at the beginning of the game, choose an opposing character. He gets +1 attack when making an attack against the chosen character. If the character has X-Men or Brotherhood, modify his attack and damage by an additional 1. I like that trait a lot. Like, honestly, that's pretty spot on. It's not, the +1 isn't like Silver Bullet level like a +2 would be or something, which is good, because he shouldn't be. But the fact he gets that little bit of a creative bonus versus those is cool. His movement abilities, Bishop can use Phasing Teleport if he does and ends this action adjacent to the target of to police and patrol around. He may be given a close combat range. It's another cool one. And his defense is Invul and Combat Radios. It's a great piece. I'm definitely going to give it an 8 out of 10.
He gets a ranged or close combat action.
Oh, action. Sorry, I didn't even notice that. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And in combo with some other stuff on there, like, does he get that? No, he doesn't get that in Pulse Wave at the same time. But what does he?
He doesn't actually have any actions, per se. But there's other tools you could use with him to give it to him.
Yeah, he's a cool piece. I definitely give him an 8. I mean, like, you put some effort into that one. Savage Hulks was really interesting. He's got some great keywords. 125 points. His trait is Energy Absorption. Bishop can choose to ignore damage from any successful ranged combat attack. Now, I want to point out this makes him completely immune to ranged combat attacks, pretty much, as a trait. There's no way to outwit that, no way to avoid that. I would have probably gone with Reduces if you were going to go with something like that, because then at least Pinsai and stuff would go through it. The other problem with it is, I'll go ahead and finish explaining it first. After doing so, you place an absorption token on his card. At any time during your turn, you can remove an absorption token to either remove an action token or modify his damage by 1 until end of turn. If at any time Bishop has more than 1 token on his card, deal him 2 unavoidable damage and give him an action token and remove all the tokens from his card. This trait can't be ignored. The trait can't be ignored. That actually means he would ignore Pulse Wave too, wouldn't it?
Right. There's no way of getting around that thing.
I gave this dial actually a 7. I like the dial, but that trait literally is broken. Like that's a few wording changes and I think a few tweaks here and there would be it's a cool idea. I definitely give you that. A few tweaks to its wording, I think you could have had a really good idea going there. And then his other abilities, you can use combat reflexes, toughness, and willpower. Once again, police, X-Men. Great idea. Some minor alterations that have been perfect. We Are Venom. This is probably my favorite of the submissions. He's 140 points X-Men. Has police keyword but not team ability. His trait is energy absorption and misdirection. If he's the target of a ranged combat attack, he gets +1 defense. If he was the target of a ranged combat attack since your last turn, he gets +1 attack and damage when making a ranged combat attack. If he was the target of 3 or more ranged combat attacks since your last turn, he gets +1 attack, or he gets modify him by an additional +1. So he'll get 2 attack and damage. And his ranged combat attacks cause penetrating damage. That's pretty spot on to me. Like, okay, one guy takes a pot shot at you, or 2. Oh, okay, I can absorb that. But if 3 do, you're just going to go like God mode, fire it right back. I love this other trait. I must prevent this timeline from occurring. He doesn't begin the game on the map. Instead, place him and 5 timeline tokens on his card. At the beginning of your turn, remove a timeline token. When 0 remain, you may place Bishop anywhere on the map. If you control no other friendly characters, place Bishop on the map. So it's not risky to like have him off the board or whatever, because if the rest of your team dies, he just comes in. But it's also cool because that's how Bishop is. He's a big time traveler and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then his damage power is born in a mutant concentration camp. He can use willpower. Usually I'm not too big on like special abilities that are just different slots, but that's a good one.
Well, that way he'll, even if you outwit 1 toughness, he'll get willpower, or vice versa.
It's a cool one though. I that's definitely my favorite. I definitely give that a 9. That's pretty much spot on what I would make a Bishop as. Great dial designs, guys. As Hunter said, getting only 3. I wish we'd had a lot more. I wish I would have got a rescue though. Kind of sad about that. But the Bishop designs were all great. It's kind of a difficult character to do well, so it is definitely an interesting job.
So from now on, we're gonna give you guys more options whenever we give you an assignment.
I want an Avenger.
Maybe not quite so wide as make a DC character or something like that, but we'll give you more options, and that's going to lead me into Drew's assignment, which is going to be the last assignment for month 1.
Yep. Okay, so I gave you 2 options, but they're actually bigger options. My first option is there's a current book running called Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
I need to read that.
A lot of the people in there haven't been clixed really at all.
And they're interesting, too.
Yeah, you got Boomerang, you got Shocker. Shocker's been clixed recently, and he's got a pretty good dial.
He's really damn good.
Yeah, he's pretty good dial.
I hate that Shocker.
But I want another Shocker, so if you want to give me another Shocker, that's cool. Beetle, Speed Demon, and Overdrive. Overdrive has a lot of cool options if you know what Overdrive does, which you should. Go look it up. But they've all got really cool options. And my DC, I got a DC option, which is, I was originally just going to do Captain Cold, because I love Captain Cold. He's awesome, and hasn't been clixed really at all. But Flash Rogues. So, any one of them, you can just churn them out. You got it.
So that gives you plenty of options. That's over a dozen. So either a character from Superior Foes of Spider-Man, Shocker, Overdrive, Boomerang, Beetle, Speed Demon, or a Flash Rogue.
I really want a new
Cap
Beetle.
Colds, Captain Boomerang.
We could sit here all day and name off Flash Rogues.
Mirror Master.
Oh, Mirror Master would be awesome.
We've already talked, I think, on here about how bad we want a Mirror Master.
You can make me another top. That'd be good.
So these submissions are going to be due August 10th is going to be the deadline for Drew's assignment. I will update the dial design contest thread immediately. I will also be linking the dial design thread in the links for this podcast. On to another subject of community. Kenzilla has yet another build for us. We appreciate him. His build this week is Bring on the Weenies. Silver Age, well, he said Golden Age, no feats, no battlefield conditions. We call that Silver Age. 600 points. No character can be over 100, but there's also a maximum of 10 characters. Phil, you're the guest. You're going to go first. What do you got?
Well, I love theme teams. I always have. I know it's not part of the build, but I went with Shield. Shield ATA team had the 43-point Ant-Man, Brother Voodoo from Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America from Marvel 10th, the Skrull version, Hawkeye from Chaos War, Maria Hill from Captain America, Mockingbird from the Chaos War Fast Force at 25 points, Nick Fury from Chaos War, Shadowcat from the new Wolverine and the X-Men. As I said earlier, she actually kind of inspired this build. And then just because I love Miles Morales, I had to throw him in there as well at 34 points. Kind of utilizing the probability, outwit, and perplex on several of the characters in my build with the shield ATA, increasing their range, and also using the shield team ability as well. With the characters like Brother Voodoo, Captain America, a lot of great control pieces and carry pieces. I think this would trounce Austin's team completely.
There's no disputing that.
You leave my team out of this.
Well, he asked him to build him a team. So, Austin, would you go ahead and tell him what your team is?
8 carrions at half dial, 2 zombies, and a full 30-point book.
Well, that was quick. Thank you for sharing, Austin.
Since everything's under 100 points, carrion's poison. When he uses poison, if they're less than 100, they'll 2 damage instead of 1. So, and then Carrion himself has a special exploit where if he hits someone with it, that character can't use any defense except super senses. So I built like this nice little group of Carrions with that special poison and the good exploit. They have good penetrating all the way down their dial. They drop onto regen, then kick right back up, and they can fly and stuff. The 2 zombies are filler. So you drop them some hammers. And you
The
just go tear
zombies are
stuff
filler.
up.
Let's be honest. The zombies are the showcase in
Yep.
his teams.
I just want to drop them a
Krakatoa
hammer.
map.
And then the poison can trigger their scent to blood.
I'm giving Austin crap, but my team's really erratic. It makes no sense. I wanted to build a team around the book. I just wanted to build a team around the book, so there you go. I started off, I was like, alright, I'm going to put my favorite piece of all time, Sabretooth, in there from Giant Size X-Men.
I wouldn't be
And then I was like, well, I'll put his boyfriend, Alyosha Craven, in there. They're going to make out, and they're going to get free actions everywhere. So Kirk Connors decided to come in and make it a 3-way, so ASM Lizard's there.
It's getting hot.
Alright, so this is where I started like looking at old pieces. Like, I really want to play old pieces with the
I
book.
believe I have the vapors.
So I put Brave and the Bold Max Mercury in there. He's the one who can perp up someone's speed by +3, which is nasty. So you remember replace and modify, so it's like 10 charge sometimes. I put the Fantastic Forces Hawkeye in there. The one that's riding the Avengers mobile or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know.
I love that Hawkeye
No,
piece.
Hawkeye.
He's up there. Didn't I have one of you guys play him recently?
You had it played
It was in
against
your-
me.
Oh, I had Rob use
You
it.
loaned
Yeah.
it to Rob, and Rob used it against
It's
me.
a good piece.
I
Man.
had a full Illuminati
It starts with the
team.
12 attack. So you put Mock's hammer on there, and he's shooting you for 14 at a
Is it
10
from
range.
Triple bolt in cap
From
too,
Triple
isn't it?
Bolt
I think it's
Energy Explosion, I thought.
No, it was in cap.
Maybe it was in cap.
He gets one
it's in
click
cap.
of energy explosion.
He locked down my whole
See, the bad
team.
thing about him is his attack values drop, but if
Well,
Drew's
he's gonna
throwing
get
a
dropped
hammer
anyway.
on him, then he
Yeah.
doesn't have to worry about it.
Another fun piece I put in there was the 2-gun kid from Avengers. Basically, you can give him an action, and he can make 2 separate range combat attacks against 2 separate people. And you give him a hammer, and he'll do some things. Universe Taskmaster is pretty sick. He starts with a 12 attack. He's got a perp. He's got stealth. He's got energy shield. So he's
Wild card, too.
got a wild card. And
So he can give old Kirk Connors that 12 attack.
yes,
And it
sirree.
became a foursome.
And my last piece is a really expensive piece that I put in here for no reason except the reason that it's a really, really good cheap perp, and that's Origins Alfred, the Chase, which is $50. It is like the biggest waste of money you could ever probably
I
throw.
don't know anything
I
about it.
haven't seen that piece.
I have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil has 3 of them. He's
Phil sleeps in a pillow.
He's-
Like Phil, I pretty much always play Theme Team. I play Theme Team like 95% of the time.
is 8 Carrions a theme team, Hunter?
Nah, I guess
They're all monster.
I guess Austin got his
I got my theme
wish. Anyways,
Screw you guys.
I went with Marvel Knights because a lot of them are in the like 70, 80 point range, and I figured this would be a good time to use them since we have to be less than 100. Black Widow from Captain America, and then the Blade from the Spider-Man Gravity Feed, Cloak and Dagger, which we had just talked about last week, being an awesome team up. I threw them in there. Doctor Strange, the one that gives the Jason's energy shield. Electra, one of the best pieces ever, the SI-048, who has charged flurry blades and just an all-around excellent piece. Iron Fist, FF-048, wild card, starts with the 12 attack. And then the SI Punisher, which is a piece I picked up recently and I still haven't got to play, is the chain gun from Secret Invasion. He is also... Now, the thing to note about this team I have like 6 wild cards on here, and the only reason I used that Black Widow was so that I could throw Thunderbolts on her. And so basically my whole team has Thunderbolts for only paying for it one time.
That's tight.
And then I had 5 points. I had 5 points left, so I threw the Crimson Gem on there because I couldn't afford a resource.
I had the Doc Ock arms.
I would like to bring up, don't sleep on the Crimson Gem. Like, I had a
No,
zombie
it's good.
pick.
It used to be a big meta piece.
I love
You had a
that.
zombie pick it up?
I had a zombie pick up.
Whoa!
Charge through a
No
wall
way.
and kill somebody.
Amazing.
Alright, Kinzel, that's our build for this week.
My feelings are hurt.
We have
Should be.
We have a lot of questions, some from Reddit, some from Realms. One of them is from Imperious Theory. He wants tips on how and where to trade. Now, this just came up this week. We just started a separate group on Facebook. We had so many, like we were talking about earlier, we have so many people on the Greenwood Heroclix League. We have like 40-some, and that Facebook group is hopping every day.
My phone goes off.
Yeah, my phone goes off a
Notifications
million
constantly.
times a day because people are posting, and a lot of them are asking about trades, things they're looking for. So we started a separate group just for trades where people can, basically we made everyone admins. Everyone can go on the file section, create their own document that lists their haves and wants, and that way it's a lot less spam, and it's a separate little section where people can trade. That's one way you could set up trades locally. HC Realms has a big trade market. The only thing is you're going to have to go by their rules, which is how it should be. You can only trade or buy until you get 25 positive feedback. The feedback system works very similar to eBay's feedback system. Once you've done 25 positive feedbacks, then you can start selling your things for cash or PayPal or money order or however you want to do it, but it's the vast majority of people want to use PayPal. If you want more information on that, go to HC Realms, go to forums, and go to the sell section, and there's a sticky post on there that has all the explanations for that. I've been doing that I started last year, and I've already got like 70 rep. Like it really started. Once you get that 25 and you get to start selling, your rep will fly. That's a good place too because you have thousands of people that are on there trading. So you have a good chance of somehow picking up the pieces you want. Or you can just buy them for cheaper prices than you can find on other places too.
And their systems and rules are very protective of the people. If you have a lower rep, it's considered etiquette to ship first.
Right, well, it's considered...
You have to.
It's pretty much required unless the person makes an exception
and
for you.
you're supposed to provide tracking info and all that stuff.
Right, you always provide shipping confirmation, which costs you like 75 cents. The person who has a lower rep will ship first. One other way is just locally at your venue, just talking to guys.
Bring your trades.
Bring your trades with you when you come so you can kind of show, I've got these things. Are you looking for any of these? And maybe they can bring their stuff next week, and that takes longer, but that's really the only other way to do it. I get my pricings from CoolStuffInc.com. I think they have pretty fair prices overall. They also have a good rewards program that rewards you pretty well for buying from them consistently. Troll and Toad has some clicks, but their prices
are really high.
They're not super high, but they're a little higher. A lot of stuff is a little higher than I feel like it should be. So personally, I use Cool Stuff and I use HG Realms for my prices. Red Gears, who is a mod on Heroclix, wants to know what would we like to see in the next DC set. Now, this is a loaded question, so we're not going to go into very much detail because this is actually a main topic coming up soon for us.
How soon? Because I really
Very
want to
soon,
discuss
so
this.
you're not going to talk for a half hour.
Hunter, could you say we're going to cover it in a flash?
Oh gosh! So let's say
we should shine a Green Lantern at it.
let's say
That was so bad.
2 sentences. What would you like to see in the next DC set, Austin?
That's not fair.
2 sentences. Go.
No. Andrew, you go first because I got to think.
Hellblazer: The Revenge. Go.
What about you, Phil? Superman Returns.
I mean, I would love to see. I will say can I say what I don't want to see? I guess.
Yeah.
Batman.
No. Well, besides Batman, I don't actually want to see Brightest Night. Or Blackest Night, whatever it's called, Brightest Day.
Blackest Day.
I really,
Brightest Night.
I really love Green Lantern. To keep it within 2 cents, but just not. I don't think it's click worthy as a whole set.
Phil, I'm going to throw
Blasphemy.
Okay.
Okay, so mine is Blackest Night. Now, I don't want Blackest Night as a main set. I want it as the next event.
Okay.
And we're going to get into that in a
would
main
be
topic.
awesome.
Now, as far as a set, I want some freaking Flash and Flash Rogues, and Drew wants them really bad too. We need Flash love, we need Green Lantern world love, but most importantly, we need Wonder Woman love. Where's the Wonder Woman
Where's
love?
the Shazam?
Shazam. Well, that goes without saying, man. Shazam needs his own comic, god dang it.
I want a Flash set with a Shazam sub-theme because they have a lightning bolt for both of them. You can just run with it. No pun intended.
Okay, we got it. Let Austin. Let's go.
And then I want to beat up Phil right now because although I agree with Hunter, an event set would be cool. You collect the rings.
Big KR88. Oh, sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't want 60 different Green Lanterns. I want
the fish
Well,
guy.
see,
and the
that's
bird
why I think
guy.
they should do it as an event, because then you can have an LE for maybe one of each Lantern Corps each month can be you can have a new
And there's only
a
35.
badass Atrocitus, a badass Sinestro, that have special powers that none of the other ones before have had, or something like that.
I would like to see a different. I would like to see more of the other colors if they did that. I don't want a Green Lantern set.
Or
I
do
want
it like
all
a Fear
colors.
Itself, a limited set. That
That's
way
what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
have to support an entire 60-piece
It's
set.
35 pieces.
30,
from
35
all the
pieces.
spectrums. And we got to get what's the orange lantern blob guy that starts with G?
Glommy?
Yeah, we need a Glommy.
Big KR88 wants to know, is there anything in Wolverine and the X-Men that could help against the Justice League team base?
Well, Phil sounds excited
So,
back here. He's giggling.
Over the past couple months, before people give their answers,
giggling.
we talked about when they first announced Wolverine and the X-Men, I kept saying, there's no way that there's not going to be a silver bullet. There's no way they're not going to put a silver bullet in before Gen Con so that team bases won't rule Gen Con. Well, then they announced the date and said that you can't use it in Gen Con. And now it's looking like there is no actual silver bullet like there was for the utility belt and for the Infinity Gauntlet with Iron Man and Catwoman. I don't even see any pieces that are exceptionally well. Nothing exceptional at stopping the Justice League team base.
Phil has a good one.
Now, Phil apparently has a good one. What do you got,
not
Phil?
amazing.
I just felt like with the question that was put out there, we should at least come up with a possible one. I'm assuming you're looking at Fortress X.
Oh, yeah.
The white box defense power. Magneto can use barrier, defend, and invulnerability. When he uses barrier, he may place up to 8 blocking terrain markers, and friendly characters adjacent to any of these blocking terrain markers gain toughness. The great thing is okay, you're trying to slow down the team base, but what does most of the support pieces for a team base are going to be like outwitters and stuff like that? Well, this power can't be countered by characters 150 points or less.
Yeah, so
It's taking care of the little, the weenies that are supporting them, and you can really be creative with 8.
Oh yeah.
Well,
The thing that sucks.
we're talking meta when we talk. Well,
300 point. I don't think at 300 points he would be. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
How much is
Excuse
he?
me, at meta, yeah, you're right.
how much is he?
He's too much. Hold on, I got it right here.
Well, also,
No,
I just
don't.
mean that you don't care about
210.
their
Oh,
outward.
if he's 210, then yeah.
Yeah.
That is good. That blocking is definitely going to help. The only thing that I saw that was going to even help me in the slightest was with my poor man's mystical team, where I try to fit a bunch of mystical pieces and get that plus roll. That Lockheed has mystical keyword, and he's only 14. I'm going to swap him in for the Astral that I threw on there just to hit another theme team. And now I have a flyer that can carry around and, just go out and get hit and tie up.
I've got my solution.
But not legal for Worlds.
What's your
unfortunately.
solution?
Multiple man.
No,
team.
not this
Yeah.
year.
Between the shape change and the super senses and spawning more every time
Yeah,
miss
they
with
don't
an
care
attack.
about shape change or super
Oh,
suit.
that's
They-
right.
See, this is the thing. You got to think about Justice League and how stupid they are.
I got to remember that half the rules in the game don't apply. No, we're talking about real Justice League and how dumb they are.
Oh my goodness.
So Big KR88, I'm sorry, but I
Yeah,
don't see
Wolverine.
anything that
Well,
that absolutely.
The thing is, we haven't seen the entire set.
There's only like
And
4
maps.
more pieces. There.
There's
We
maps
haven't
to
seen
remember,
the
too.
chases. We haven't seen like half the rares yet.
There's maps, but really, what's really going to hurt them because they can occupy multiple levels of elevated. That's the
But
big
here's
thing.
the thing. When they make a silver bullet figure, it almost exasperates the problem coming from WizKids particularly. Because they make a silver bullet, and ends up being such a good piece on its own.
Yeah,
people
now
just play the
Iron
silver
Man
bullet.
against Book of the Skull is a huge problem.
Oh my gosh. That's just a ridiculous combo.
I mean, like, yes, you're absolutely right. It does create it just furthers the problem. I think WizKids needs to take note. They made a really powerful fig and learn from it. I mean, if you keep power creeping, you're going to make your
You're going
old
to end up with
figs.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Are we
Not
gonna?
only that, but you're going to make your old figs not as fun to play. I think what they were doing is great. They're making it a gradual power increases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not so far-fetched like you see in Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Where the game is completely out of control right now. And, there's whole sets of cards that are just completely worthless now. So, I mean, learn from the mistake.
Basically,
Blame
we're
the
gonna
future
give
team
you,
base.
we're giving you a pass, but don't keep the shit up.
But that's why I put my
Don't make something more dumb so that it can beat
Please.
the Justice
That's
League.
why I
team.
think map will be it.
We'll just suffer through the Justice League days.
I think
That'll
it-
be fine.
A good map could stop the Krakoa problem, or not Krakoa.
The
a new Krakoa, a new Krakoa of some sort that's good against the team base somehow.
The meta problem is
Yeah, but
Krakoa.
see, the problem,
is then they're going to get +7. To
the
map.
problem is they're +7 to the map. I think the only thing that's going to fix this issue, and it's not going to fix it completely, is to errata them.
Yeah,
Is to take away either nerf working together or nerf the bonus to theme team. They should not get +7
They should
for
do
being
both of those
one
things.
figure. They should not get +7. They need one or two of those changes. Is not gonna. They're still gonna be the best piece, but they're gonna be more beatable, consistently beatable with counters. Nothing in any game,
Yeah, it's
whether
basic
it's
rule of
fighting game,
design.
card game, board game. I shouldn't be able to build a perfect counter team to Justice League team base and go up and play Austin's Justice League team base and lose 9 times out of 10.
Why does
I
that
should
make
lose
a
to
problem?
more balance. I should win against Justice League team base, but lose against good balances teams. Like there needs to be a rock paper scissors mechanic in there somewhere.
Justice League was a flop. I think we can all agree to that. I don't want to talk about it anymore because it makes me sad.
Yeah, let's move on. Raymond Anderson asks, should NECA be worried about resale value? Now, this was something I had contemplated being a main topic in the future too, but we can talk about it a little bit. I think we all should say no. I mean, I would assume.
Coming from Magic, I think me and Phil, and we've seen the markets on Magic fluctuate so badly.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't play Magic.
NECA and WizKids they do have a handle on the resale value market, but I don't think they're going to have as much of an issue. But the only problem I see is that they can't, well, I shouldn't say they can't because they could. They're not really going to be reprinting old figures. I pray we never see the day where they literally just reprint an old figure. I hope they continue their whole each new set's entirely new. But logistically, I think eventually we might see that point roll around where they take an old figure and style it up.
And to go on that, I think we will not see the reprints because comic books are living, their storylines.
That's true.
They're moving through. It's not just being created for the game like you see where they can actually rehash cards because it kind of works with what they're doing right now. The best game designers I think in the world work for Wizards of the Coast, but they still mess up a lot. I think NECA, WizKids, I don't think they also have to worry about brick and mortar stores with the resale value because it's space. It takes up a lot of space to sell Heroclix. Piecemeal. What is that?
Well,
what that's called?
I'm going to assume that this question is more talking about
Golden Age play.
No, is more talking about the whole con issue.
Ah.
And should they be worried about should they be worried about how much their cons are selling for? Because in that whole fiasco, they made statements saying that they're changing it because of the resale value. His question is, should they even, as the company who's selling it, should they even be messing with or even worried about what the resale value of their product is once they get paid for it initially?
My thought is no, they shouldn't.
No, they should.
it
That's what I
doesn't-
meant when I said I don't think
Cons
we all-
are something that are printed for one time, and they're extremely rare, and they should have their price value. I mean, they're called cons because
they're exclusive.
You know what the sad thing is? People complain about the $100 price tag on these things, but if you think about it and you add up the expenses that it's going to cost us to go and pay in food and entry and parking and hotels and all that shit, you're pretty much paying the same price to stay at home and to just buy it. Honestly, it's not like it's
cheaper.
It's not like it's $300
We're
per con.
lucky.
Exactly.
We're blessed that Gen Con's here in Indianapolis. And if it wasn't, we'd be shelling out $300 more a pop just for the flight and the hotel and everything else at least.
probably wouldn't go, honestly.
But the thing is, WizKids shouldn't drive their whole perspective based on the secondary market. But as a game company, you do have to care about it to a point. They specifically do control the flow of them. They say it's $48 of product to get one con exclusive. That's their trade-off. $48 and an hour of play for one con exclusive. Indirectly, that sets the price. If it was everyone walks up with a constructed team and plays for a bit at a little battle royale and you get a con every 30 minutes, prices wouldn't be near as bad if there were more of them given out. But I like them where they're sitting. I don't think con exclusives are a problem as much as people make them out to be.
I agree. I think people say that their main beef is they want these figs and they want to be able to obtain them. There's not enough printed. That's a legitimate excuse. There's other ways for Gen Con to solve, or for Gen Con, for WizKids to solve the problem without worrying about the resale value. They could be printing either more of these figures. See, they can't. The thing is, they can't print more of them because then it makes the value of people going to cons. There's nothing in it for them.
But that's
what they need to do is make these characters again in other sets and make different versions of them. Like
exactly.
My main beef is I want that Dr. Fate really bad. Not necessarily because he's super broken. He is a very good piece. But I'll settle for any Dr. Fate with a good sculpt and a decent dial. The thing is, there is no new Dr. Fate in the last 5 years.
And that's the one thing that I do kind of have to give them credit for this con rotation. They picked a bunch of characters that, although they may be popular alternate universe versions or whatever, they're not direct hardcore characters like Dr. Fate or Martian Manhunter that people really want and there haven't been a good one of in a set or anything. They're obscure, like the Superman Wonder Woman is like the idea in my head of what a con exclusive should be. It's a character mashup from a specific storyline that
you have plenty of other options for if you want those pieces.
Yeah, and it's an interesting piece. It's not broken, like ridiculously broken or anything. And it's a finesse piece. It's a cool shelf piece. That's what a con exclusive is to me.
They did a better job with it. The only one I think...
Ghost.
No. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Gentleman Ghost. They shouldn't have put Gentleman Ghost in there. Either that or he needs to be in a set in the next year or two.
Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan was the other one I was going to say. A lot of people... That's a very popular story and a very popular character, of course. I mean, that's one of Marvel's flagship characters. I think he and Gentleman Ghost, if they were in another set coming up soon, then you don't have the problem of the resale value, and they wouldn't have to be worried about it in the first
Thompson
place.
Venom comes to mind.
Flash Thompson Venom. He needs to be... I don't know why they didn't put him in the Amazing Spider-Man set. It kind of seems like a stupid mistake.
Oversight.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so that's enough for that. Let's move on. Deathlock Prime asks, how do we feel about cheese pieces?
Wait, is his name seriously Deathlock Prime?
That's what it says. These are from Reddit. How do we feel about cheese pieces? We said that we dislike them, but yet we still use them. Why is that? Well, the reason for that we explained last week. The reason that I played Justice League Team Base, and I'll probably never play it again in my life after Gen Con,
I am scarred for life,
is because what I said on the podcast last week. These events that we're running are using our teams that we are going to use at Gen Con. Now, if you don't use a team at Gen Con with the Justice League Team Base or a team that has as much of a manageable chance as you can have against the Justice League Team Base, if you don't come in with that,
you're screwed.
You're screwed from the gate. Everybody's bringing out the big guns. So the only reason that we were using them last week is because these events are for Gen Con, and these are the teams that we're going to be running at Gen Con. Drew.
I have a quick story to tell. My first time at the Game Preserve, we were doing an event. I can't remember what it was.
It was like 20. Was it the 2500 point one or whatever? The really crazy one.
Oh yeah, I used Trigon and 600 point Justice League. I had never played Justice League before. I didn't know how good they were. I
That
had
was
no
like the
idea how
first
working
week they
together
were out.
even worked because I didn't really care. I was just having fun.
Dr. Manhattan.
And then I realized I could shoot this guy 6 times, and I demolished his harvest, and I felt terrible. I felt horrible. And I never wanted to do that again. And then I realized, well, if I want to win, this is the only way I'm going to do it.
And that's the thing. There's heavy competitive atmospheres where there's meta pieces getting thrown around like candy, and there's there's heavy competitive atmospheres where there's meta pieces getting thrown around like candy. Everyone's going to bring them to the gate. You know what those kind of events are ahead of time. Typically, if the builds are really freeform, people are usually going to bring the power. Our venues tend to be a little bit lighter on the power. Even on the freeform events, people tend to bring some fun teams, but there's still a power piece or two that shows up. You just have to be decisive about it. If it's a power event, you bring the power. If it's a fun event, you bring the fun. And
Long story short, we don't generally like cheese pieces, and we actually have never really played many of them. It's just right now we're prepping for Gen Con, and these events are for Gen Con. And the people who are coming also want to play against the teams that they're going to be seeing at Gen Con.
You need practice against
on
those pieces as well.
On my Meteor Shower team, I'm not playing the Justice League team base, but I'm playing a really good team, and I'm expecting to play against Justice League team bases. Therefore, I want people to bring good stuff. I need to practice in that format against good stuff. I don't want to go up against your Young Justice theme team running off of Red Tornado.
Hey, what's wrong with Red Tornado?
As I said, once again, it's competitive versus casual, kind of, so to speak.
I don't look down on people who play cheese, but the thing is, if you are consistently every week bringing pieces like that, it's just
If we tell
you're
you
not there for fun,
you're not there for fun, and you lose respect.
If we tell you casual 300 point theme team and you bring the Justice League team base,
right, exactly.
Well, that's again going back. It's the TO and judges' job to control that. It's really quite simple.
Yeah.
All right. Comics this week. We wanted to. We have one question that we got asked related to comics. That was from Swagnito, who also was in the Dow Design Contest. What are our thoughts on X-Men Legacy? So when we have talked, Austin hasn't read it at all. Drew, have you read it? No. Okay. Apparently, Phil. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm gonna talk.
Well,
there's our thoughts on it, guys. We're leaving.
X-Men Legacy, I initially liked a lot. I liked Legion. I liked the first arc. I loved learning about his powers and kind of the new take on him with Marvel now. But after that first arc, it's really been slowly losing me. I can't think of the chick's name right now, Blindfold, I think. But I just can't stand reading her dialogue. She stutters all the time, and she, purposefully... And
I would like to bring up, that's one of my biggest annoyances in comics. I don't like when they exasperate characters' vocal problems repeatedly. You could start with
it brings me out of the of the experience. But not only that, that's just one tiny little thing. I feel like the storylines are just... I don't know. I'm not captured anymore. I'm not intrigued by his powers, that romance is worn off, and I'm really starting to not dislike it, but I'm starting to feel very meh about it. And I keep saying, I'm going to give this thing an issue or two to catch my attention again, or else I'm going to drop it. I'm going to give it an issue or two. So right now, that's where I am. I'm on the fence. If it doesn't grab me in the next couple issues, I'm going to drop it. I got enough stuff to read right now anyways.
Yeah.
So, the big thing we want to talk about this week, number one was Hunger.
What?
Okay. Austin hasn't got to read it yet. Me and Drew read it. We both liked it a lot. Have you read Hunger yet? So, to set up the scene for Hunger, it is after Age of Ultron.
Yep.
It's revealed that with all the timeline problems that happened, one of them was Angela, who's released into the Marvel Universe, and she's... Right now, the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be dealing with her. They just revealed in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Another big thing is that Galactus has entered the Marvel Ultimate Universe, and Hunger opens with Rick Jones, and him kind of being talked to with Uatu channeling through other people, people at a fast food restaurant, talking to him, arguing with him.
It's pretty great.
It's really good. His characterization is very good. The art's really good, and the kind of plot line and the way that Galactus gets introduced is actually really kind of cool too. So I liked it a lot, and I'm pretty optimistic about it so far.
Yeah,
you think so?
Yeah, it's going to be good. I have a good feeling.
The other main thing we wanted to talk about was what we've been talking about every week on Comics is Trinity War. We got 2 pieces of Trinity War the last couple of weeks: JLA number 6 and Justice League Dark number 22. Have you guys read it?
I've read both.
I've read both.
Have you,
yeah.
Phil?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Phil. You're like me this week.
I work all the time.
Phil's got a life.
And a wife.
A life and a wife.
Well, nice knowing you.
I'm loving it so far. I think we all are loving it so
I
far.
think my favorite thing about it so far is the detail they're putting into the backgrounds on these. Like, they drop little bitty hints in the background that make you think, to where you go back through and look back every issue and you're searching through the back for a hint.
The artwork is sick.
Oh,
too.
the artwork's great.
I honestly think Constantine 5, I'm going to buy that so quick.
And I'd like to say... Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that's throwing me for a loop here is... When you first see the Trinity where you're like, wow, it's going to be cut and dry. JLA versus JL versus JLD. No. Everyone's all mixed up, and they're all following different sides, and they're all fighting each other, and it makes it a lot better, I think.
It's kind of cool because it might be leaning towards they're all going to go with the different one of the Trinity of Sin and go after their way of stopping Pandora's box. I mean, who knows where it's going to head now.
But I like that.
But it's a fun ride now.
Definitely.
And I definitely got to give it bigger props than Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was kind of mid.
See, I liked Age of Ultron.
Well, the thing about Age of Ultron that everyone was upset about was the ending, so Trinity War's not over.
The last half.
Yeah, we'll see how Trinity War goes. Right now, we're really optimistic. There's only 2 more main stories.
There's only 2 more main storylines, but there's Constantine 5, and then there is a... what is it?
Constantine 5 doesn't really, like...
Yeah, it is.
It rides on it.
I know, but
it's
it's a tie-in.
Yeah.
I'm catching up right now. Trinity War.
The tie-in with Constantine this week was
Superman?
Shazam and Constantine
I
are in a bar.
It's so great.
And they switch bodies. It's really crazy.
What is it?
The tie-in, Constantine and Shazam. So yeah, we're liking Trinity War a lot so far. One comic specifically, I wanted you guys, if you get time to download and read. I got caught back up on Wolverine and the X-Men, and in the middle of that is issue number 17, and all it's about is Dupe. And if you don't know Dupe, he's the peanut-looking guy who never talks and never does anything. And it's all about like what he actually does at the school, because you never see him actually doing anything. And it is one of the funniest. It's like funnier than the Deadpool comic. It's hilarious. It's number 17. I just really enjoyed it, and I wanted other people to read it and enjoy it. Phil, what'd you read?
I do want to say, I did read Uncanny Avengers. That has been my favorite books from the Marvel set right now. They introduced the new 4 Horsemen of Death, and I mean...
They're all of death, aren't they?
I believe so, yeah. And I mean, the Apocalypse Twins, everything about it. I mean, I would love to see these guys clixed out.
I agree.
I would love to see the new Horsemen as chases.
I'd like to see them as... not
either way, I mean, just something great.
Last
Alternate versions of some really classic characters. And controversial characters, too. Like, you have Sentry, who, you know, everybody's love or hate about that guy.
And I would like to bring up, that's one of my favorite things that Marvel now has been doing really well. They're bringing back old rogues, old characters that have been dusted and left on the shelf for a while, and they're revamping them. They're giving them new life. And you got to give it to Marvel with that. They're doing a great job with it.
And that being said, I would love if the main set Havoc had the Avengers keyword.
Yeah, I was really shocked that it didn't.
Yeah, why doesn't
But
because most of the story arcs, from what I can tell about the HeroClix world, is it's about 2 years or a year or 2 years behind.
Yeah,
that's certainly true. Yeah.
So it's not Havoc from Uncanny Avengers. It's Havoc, being emo with X Factor.
You know what figure? I want a Scott Summers in his new outfit from the latest X-Men comic.
Yeah,
I just want Scott Summers from
Revolution,
Age of Apocalypse
from
again.
Scott Summers.
By Scott Summers.
Let's see. I haven't really picked up anything X-Men wise. Batwing was what I put some time in this week. I read through all 22 issues
I
of
heard
it.
great things about it.
I loved it.
It starts out great, like the first 20 issues or so, and then about 19 it kicks off and flips into a new character. The new character starts off really meh.
It's Lucius Fox's son.
Yeah, and it's just not a spoiler.
Fox.
It's not really a spoiler because it starts out saying it.
It's not his fault that the book isn't as good, though.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's him. It's the fact that we got so attached to the original Batwing.
The storylines are out there. The thing that's awesome about Batwing at first is it feels like Unknown Soldier.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's based in Africa. The problems feel very Africa. It almost feels like a movie.
Yeah.
That you're kind of along for the ride, like with the whole cop and dirty cop, good cop, and all the things that are going on. Like, they're comic booky. Like, there's some villains that have some certain things that are, of course, above human level. But it still feels very grounded, and the art is also extremely good.
Oh, yeah. And the thing was, like, that's exactly what I was going to say. It feels just like Unknown Soldier to me. It's a world that, unless you, like, really read into it on the news and stuff, we don't get much of a taste of. And it's interesting to see, like, African takes on, like, the traditional superhero teams. Like, some of their superheroes have weird powers, stuff like that. And it really cool. I liked it. And then when they did the swap, although I like the new Batwing suit, kind of. It looks kind of like a Batman Beyond suit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the new villains are alright. It just, the plot isn't pulling me in at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of dying off for me, too. Which is sad.
I'm going to keep going with it. It's about 3 issues into the new arc. If it continues down the meh path, I think I'm going to drop it. But the first 19 issues or whatever are great. I would recommend them to anyone, especially if you enjoy a Batman-flavored character in a whole new environment. Like, it's definitely worth a read. It's out there as far as, like, comics go, kind of. Batman and Robin had Batman and Catwoman this week.
It was good.
It was good. It's the woe is me Bruce bit's kind of dying down a little bit. It's not like as bad as it was for the first few where everyone was all sad, but it's still there. Without spoiling it, it's basically Catwoman and Batman team up for a JLA mission. It's an interesting book.
It kind of hints at the Trinity War setup a little bit too.
And then the basic Batman right now is running Year Zero. It's kind of explaining his origin with a few more details and stuff like that. It's a little slow to me. I'm waiting to see when something else picks up or whether it ties back into the stories. Because as I said last week, the New 52 Batman was really good. It was re-explaining a lot of the origin stuff, and it introduced some new stuff. It's going to be interesting to see if Year Zero ties back into that. What else did I hit this week? Caught up on Superior Spider-Man. Still recommended highly. Great book.
Still need to read Superior.
New Ramos design on the suit.
Oh, yeah. I love
cool.
that design. New Avengers is starting to wrap into Infinity. That's a big thing. Hickman's been really bad these last few weeks about plot lines everywhere. Like, I feel like everything's all over the place on all 3 of the books that are kind of like tying in, or the 2 main books that are kind of tying into it. But it's starting to, like, finally take shape. I'm starting to see what Infinity's going to be about. And it's nice to get a little bit of a relief on that tension for once. It's actually making me look forward to Infinity, whereas before I was kind of like, eh. And then Thanos Rising ties into that, of course. I liked 4. 4 was better than 3 to me. They start revealing, like, talking about death, and you almost feel sorry for Thanos.
Yeah.
Which it's taken
the whole series has done a good job of that.
Yeah,
of making you feel sorry for him, or kind of at least trying to relate to him a little bit. What'd you read, Phil?
Oh well, going off the Thanos thing. Because I don't know if you guys covered this yet. What were your feelings about them announcing a different main villain for the Avengers 2 movie over Thanos after being spoiled at the end?
I assumed, and I don't know why they didn't make him be the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Seriously?
Guardians is going to tie into it, but
I know, but I don't know.
Well, from what I understand, I was reading an interview about it earlier. They want Thanos to be, like, the big background villain who, like, the Avengers think their world's so small and they're doing all these big problems to them.
So what I'm going to assume is going to be the villain in Avengers 3, maybe?
Yeah, it's pretty much locked in. He's 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ant-Man and all that's going to tie into it.
I mean, it does surprise me that he's not going to be the... Did they say who it would be?
It's Ultron.
Oh,
it's Ultron, yeah.
Duh. Sorry, I
I
forgot.
mean, which is also amazing, don't get me wrong. And,
Oh.
but with the whole... You could get almost that whole Jedi feel with the The good guys, and then the bad guys come, and Thanos comes and wipes the floor with them, and then you have to have the Avengers rise up.
Yeah.
And, Avengers Assemble kind of classic thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the traditional like sequel thing you have.
I'm okay with the mix-up though.
Yeah, Hero comes to power. Hero continues being in power. Hero falls and has to come back again.
Yeah.
And then on the whole cosmic side of things, the current run of Iron Man is really meh to me as an Iron Man fan.
I'm really close to dropping it. If it wasn't for Death's Head, I probably would have dropped it.
Especially coming off of Invincible Iron Man, jumping into this when Marvel Now kicked in. Its writing is kind of meh. The plot just isn't grabbing me. And the rewrite, while it's okay and some of the stuff's interesting, the book just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
It's just because they took Matt Fraction off of it. And
Matt Fraction's genius.
Yeah, but he's not doing a very good job with FF right now. But that's just because it was Hickman's baby, and Hickman was so perfect at it. And now it's like, it's meh.
But like with Iron Man, the thing is like, as I said before, there's Iron Man, there's the robot, and then there's sometimes Death's Head. Those are the only 3 characters in it, like that are interacting with each other, and there's no character development really going on. There's no chance for Tony to be witty and funny and all that stuff, and that's where Tony and Iron Man excels.
Really, Death's Head's being funnier and wittier than Tony is.
I've gotten more laughs.
You know what also hurts that book in my back of my head too is you see him being written in Guardians of the Galaxy and being in the cosmic universe and everything, and it's like amazing.
Yeah.
And like he feels like he fits, but he's also, they always tease him about being a human. He always has like witty banter. And in his main book, he doesn't get any of that, even though he's in cosmic. So it shows you he can be well written. Like, it can be a good thing. It's just this book's just not turning out that good.
And Thor: God of Thunder, which me and you both have talked about.
We'll talk once it wraps up the main storyline. We'll go over the whole thing.
I would recommend that to anyone.
Absolutely, I'm gonna buy the trades because that's my favorite Thor story I think I've ever read.
Uncanny Avengers, everyone.
Yeah, Uncanny Avengers is very good too. I guess we'll wrap up with that. Contact us on Reddit, Heroclix, on HC Realms. On Facebook, we have a Facebook group, Dial H for Heroclix. We have a Twitter account, which is also Dial H for Heroclix. It's all one word with the number 4 on that one. Subscribe to us on iTunes. I will link all of our news links that we talked about today, and I'll link the dial design contest. So remember, this is going to be the last week for this month 1 dial design contest, and you're going to do assignment number 3. And next week we will give our grade on that, and then we will announce our winner, and I will contact the winner, and we will figure out what kind of custom poker chips you want made, and then the next week we'll start over again with month number 2. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thank everybody for being here, especially our special guest Phil, and hopefully we'll have him on again soon.
Love Phil.